Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday.
You're so jolly today.
Yeah, I am. It's snowing outside. It's a beautiful day in March. Welcome to the Lacrosse Now pregame show. I'm Tom Eschen. That's Megan Triplett, getting you guys ready for a doubleheader of Sunday lacrosse right here on LSN. How'd you do with the less than hour of sleep last night,
It was tough. I woke up to snow, so that made it even worse. And then you're sick. I'm not feeling well.
None of that is true.
He's sick.
None of that is true.
He's coughing.
I don't believe in that.
You'll hear it eventually.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
They don't want to hear from us about talking about the weather. All right. Before we get to our games, let's catch you up on everything that's gone on thus far this weekend. And the first game we got to talk about is number 7 Maryland taking on Albany. And Maryland bounced back from their loss to Notre Dame last week by beating the Great Danes 14-9. Jared Bernhardt had 8 points in the win. And on the Albany side, Mitch Laffin with a hat trick. And once again, instead of seeing Albany sophomore Dehoga Nanticoke on the field, he was on the sidelines. He was dressed. He was in full uniform, but he did not play in the game. Great Danes head coach Scott Marr explained Dehoga's absence after the game. Take a listen.
Team thing. Nothing for the public to know.
I mean, whether it doesn't play or anything?
Nothing for the public to know.
Is he healthy enough to play?
Nothing for the public to know. It's in-house.
Okay. Johns Hopkins and Syracuse renewing their rivalry. Hopkins with a 4-game lead in the rivalry all time going into the afternoon. That would not continue, as you're about to see. Bradley Voigt, watch this, everybody. Whoop! Little BTB to start your Sunday with 5 seconds to go in the quarter. He had a couple goals. 5-3, John Hopkins leading there, but the lead is down to 1. Here, Kyle Marr to Joey Epstein, the freshman looking good, 2 goals. Johns Hopkins up 2, but then the Orange goes on a run in the second half and don't look back. Jacob Buttermore had a hat trick. Syracuse comes back to win 14-10, the final over Hopkins.
And this game happened late last night at the California Pacific Coast Shootout. 10th ranked Notre Dame beating 8th ranked Denver 10-7. The Irish jumping out to an 8-3 lead in the first half and holding off a third quarter run by the Pioneers to take the big W. Brian Costabile had a hat trick for the Irish along with an assist. Colton Jackson and Ethan Walker with a couple of goals apiece for Denver. And the Pioneers fall to 4-2 while Notre Dame improves to 3-1 on the season. All right, a weekend of top 5 matchups in the women's game. 5th ranked Virginia taking on 3rd ranked North Carolina in Chapel Hill. That was in Scotty Rose Brownlee runs the ball in and scores, giving UNC a 4-goal lead over Virginia. However, Virginia made a comeback and took the lead. Here's Jamie Ortega, gets a free position goal, trying to tie the game up at 12. And here we are, still tied up at 12, second half. UNC with one, ultimately Taylor Warheim scoring an awesome goal assisted by Katie Hogue. And the Tar Heels come back to win this one 13-12, get their second win in their brand new Lacrosse Stadium.
And then we had 4th ranked Syracuse at 2nd ranked Maryland. Another classic top 5 matchup on a Saturday afternoon. It was 4-3 Maryland, the 1-goal lead in the first half. Let's get there. A missed shot by Grace Griffin goes right to the stick of Caroline Steele, who picks it up, shoots and scores. Gets the space. Terps a 2-goal lead. Close game. 6-5 Syracuse, though, at the half. They have a 1-goal lead. Maryland now with a 1-goal lead. Syracuse on the woman-up opportunity. Emily Harris in front, tying the game. She had 4 goals, 11-11. We go to overtime. That's right, in double overtime. Off the free position, Hannah Warther to Callie Hartshorn in front. Maryland wins in thrilling fashion, 12-11, the final. Another thrilling win for Maryland. They've escaped a few times now. Did the same thing against North Carolina.
The women's game is so just back and forth yesterday. All right, top-ranked Boston College went into Evanston to take on 9th-ranked Northwestern, and they won a high-scoring battle, 22-17. Now, this game was really close because the Eagles only led by 1 at the half, but they went on a 12-5 run in the second half to pull away from the Wildcats and improved to 8-0 on the year. Dipsy Arsenal scored a career-high 7 goals. Kinsey Kent had 9 points. Sam Apuzzo scored 2 goals. For Northwestern, Selena Lasada scored 5 goals for the Wildcats, who fell to 4-3. BC hosts Georgetown next Saturday. Northwestern visits Rutgers on Thursday. I feel like for Boston College, we should start calling them the Big Three. You know, Kinsey Kent, Arsenal, and Sam Apuzzo, they're so good.
They are good. They are good. They're deep. I guess that's the way to put it.
They're the new Big Three of Boston.
I like that. Like Garnett, Pierce,
yes,
and Ray Allen.
you're following along now.
Yep, figuring it all out as we go.
You're still asleep. It's okay.
6th-ranked Penn beating 20th-ranked Georgetown 8-7 in a thriller. This one went down to the final seconds. Down 7-6 with 15 minutes to play. Zoe Bellido scored the last 2 goals of the game. The game winner with 5:13 to go, which also beat the shot clock, to win 8-7. She finished with 5 goals, 2 assists. Michaela Cheeseman with 12 saves for Penn as well. Francesca Whitehurst had a hat trick in the losing effort. Penn is 6-0. Georgetown falls to 5-2. All right, let's move on to today. Number 1, Towson. Number 2, Cornell, battling in the crown down in Charlotte. In the first set of games on Friday, Towson beat a feisty Jacksonville team 15-13, while Cornell lost their first game of the year, falling victim to that high-flying Penn State offense, which is led by Grant Immense 9 assists. The last time these programs played was in 2007. Cornell, top-ranked at the time, beating Towson 14-6. This game set for 1 p.m. Eastern in Charlotte. Highlights tonight on Lacrosse Now.
All right, now it's time to talk about our games that are going on right here on Ellison. So we'll get to the matchup you're about to see in just a few moments, but let's start with Penn and St. Joseph's first.
Yeah, on Friday night, as a part of the Philly for Lacrosse Classic, Penn took on 11th-ranked Villanova. The Quakers scored the first 6 goals at Villanova Stadium, held a 7-1 lead early in the second quarter, and really, Villanova made a couple runs throughout the first and second half. Penn was really in control for most of the game, taking a 13-11 decision from the Wildcats. Penn led by freshman Sam Handley, who scored 4 goals, 3 of them unassisted, also had 3 assists. Adam Goldner, Simon Mathias, Tyler Dunn each scored twice. Last night's win marked the Quakers' first win of the year after starting the year 0-3.
And then for Friday night, St. Joseph's lost to Drexel 10-7, but sophomore goalkeeper Mike Adler was the standout of the night. He made 10 saves in the full game effort. And in the third quarter alone, Adler made 4 saves on 5 shots on goal to lead the Hawks into the fourth quarter, tied with Drexel at 6. Adler now has 64 saves in 6 games on the season, and he's faced 128 shots. Doing a really good job.
The brother of Max.
Yes, we saw Max.
You talked to Max about
We did. And we saw Max last night at the draft.
Oh, you did, right. What did he say about his brother? Anything?
He said that he loves watching him. He's only gone to 1 game so far, but he's really, really impressed with how he's playing so far. And he said that Max said that he could never be a goalie like Mike. Never.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, so that game, 2:30 after the first game, which we're going to talk about right now.
All right, so 11th ranked Villanova and Drexel scheduled to face off in just a few moments here on Ellison. So let's get you ready.
On Friday, Drexel pulled away from St. Joseph's in the fourth to beat the Hawks 10-7. The Dragons improving to 2-3 with the win. Matthew Very and Marshall King each with hat tricks in that win. Drexel went 3 for 4 in the man-up opportunities. They're 15-28 this season on the man-up. Here's what Varian had to say after that win.
Yeah, he played really well, actually. We just noticed he was stepping out of the cage a little bit. We thought changing up angles, throwing fakes, making him jump a little bit seemed to work in the second half.
All right, as for Villanova, the Wildcats fell down early to Penn on Friday night, 6-1, and dig deep to trail only by 2 at the half. But Penn held off the Wildcats, who made another late run in the fourth to win 13-11. The Wildcats falling to 3-2 on the season. Penn dominated the ground balls in that game, winning 33-19.
And Connor Kirsten, that loss, did score 4 goals, had 3 assists. He's been the hero for the Wildcats this year with 2 game-winning overtime goals. He'll be someone to keep an eye on today against Drexel. So we'll be here throughout the game. We got a few moments to go now. So, Megan, who do you like in this game, Villanova-Drexel?
I'm going to have to go with Villanova. I think they're going to come back in this game. I think coming off of Friday night's loss, I think that they've kind of figured some things out. And I don't think that they don't want to go 0-2 on the weekend. Yeah,
and the big weekend in Philly. They hosted the first day games. I think that Penn is a really good team. And I don't think that reflected too much on Villanova. I don't think it meant Villanova was bad or anything like that. But I think Villanova should have the advantage. But Drexel, we always have to watch out for Drexel because they play close games. They compete to the end. So I think it's going to be pretty exciting just to see how these two teams go up against each other. A little bit of the rivalry, aspect there. The Philly playing for the rights of the hometown, and then Drexel trying to go 2-0, which I think is important. You know? So you don't want everyone to go 1-1, which could happen today.
But you want to win. You want to win. And Philly, it's Lacrosse City, they're having so much fun right now. All the lacrosse teams right there playing lacrosse.
That's right, and the Philly Wings too. All right, so we're gonna head out to Travis and Mitch on the call right now in Philly.
Sports Network is proud to present the CAA Game of the Week. Today we kick off day 2 of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic, action shifting from the main line to West Philadelphia. Vitus Field the spot as the 11th ranked Villanova Wildcats visit the Drexel Dragons. What's going on, everybody? Alongside Mitch Belisle, the former Boston Cannon and Cornell standout, I'm Travis Seldridge. Excited for day 2 of this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Mitch, back on Friday, these two teams coming off different results. Villanova could not find a way to beat Penn in the second half, while Drexel did find a way to beat St. Joe's.
Yeah, I think we're primed for a great matchup here, both in terms of what we saw from the teams on the field on Friday night and also the motivations for each of them. Drexel getting a little bit of momentum, and Villanova now really being pressed to get a win here on the weekend.
Yeah, trying to not leave this weekend at 0-2. When we look at Villanova offensively, one of the keys that we saw on Friday night was Connor Kirst, and he really is one of the main initiators for this team.
Yeah, I thought Connor Kirst maybe tried to do a little too much early, but then when it push came to shove down the line and they needed him to step up, he did exactly that. He was able to capitalize on shots from all over the field, and you know, he was just stepping up as a leader, and you could see the team jump on his back and start to rally around that.
For Drexel, we already got their third different starting goalie this season. The freshman Ross Blumenthal getting his first career start, and while he didn't do anything spectacular, he got a win.
Yeah, third time was a charm for the Drexel Dragons, and their third attempt there. Ross Blumenthal really stepped up and made some. We talked about making saves that you have to make, and then a couple ones that you're like, oh wow, that really gave us a chance. So he did a nice job there, was able to get the ball up and out to his team and get the defense organized, and that made all the difference.
And Blumenthal getting the start once again in goal for the Dragons. The starting goalie for the Wildcats, Will Vuitton, again. At the face-off X, it's Dan Fisher for Villanova, facing up against Jimmy Koida, the junior from Bronx, New York, for Drexel, and we're getting set to be underway on day 2 of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Koida goes a little early, a violation, and TJ Camizio, fresh off hearing his name called in the MLL draft last night, Mitch. 15th overall to the Ohio Machine. He picks up the ground ball and gets the first offensive set for the Wildcats.
Yeah, that's got to be exciting. You wonder how much chatter was in the locker room today as they know that they are now dealing with a future professional in their ranks.
Couple of guys we'll see today. Not this guy. Kirst still got another year, but he starts the scoring, and it's 1-0 Villanova.
Wow, Connor Kirst, I think he's feeling the momentum that he started building at the end of the game on Friday night. He just beat his man, ran down the alley, and absolutely stung that top corner, beat him with speed. That was right over Blumenthal's stick. I think Blumenthal maybe didn't expect him to put so much into that one. See, he's even got a short stick. A long pole on. The long pole got a little bit of a lift on there. Jack Farrell getting a piece of that, but ultimately Connor Kirst kept going, and that's one of the dangers of throwing a check as a defenseman. You know, he got a great piece of his stick and maybe slowed his feet down. Jack Farrell did a little bit, but you got to keep running because obviously Connor Kirst was able to put his body into it and then get his hands free.
Kirst, of course, you mentioned the momentum he gained as we have a flag down, and Fisher picks up the loose ball. Chance to go in transition for Ubriaco. It's deflected away, and we will get the call, and the Wildcats will go man up and get another look at this.
Yeah, that was one of those, he missed that check and unfortunately got the feet. I was actually talking to someone who had never really seen lacrosse before, and he asked what were penalties. I said tripping. He said, how do you trip someone? I said, usually you try to check their stick and you miss. So prime example of that right there.
32nd man up coming for Villanova. Nolan Fox goes to the box for Drexel. But we saw Kirst make that run for Villanova in the last 3 or 4 minutes to make that game against Penn on Friday a lot more interesting, ending up losing 13-11. The Quakers in a much more comfortable position until Villanova made that late run.
Yeah, and that we just saw Corey McManus, the exact same. He had 3 goals on Friday night, exact same way. 2 of the 3 are exact same way. Catch the ball in tight, don't bring your stick too far back, bounce it off your hip. That time he just was a little bit too far away from the cage to make that one stick.
And so Drexel a chance to run out this extra man, and they do. We're back to even strength. Wildcats 0 for 1 on the extra man so far this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm sure Drexel's eager to get the ball down to their attack. That's where their strength is. That's who scored a lot of their goals in the game on Friday night, and frankly, who's been scoring most of their goals this season. So they had some good contribution across the board from the midfield, and that's what Coach Volker said they're going to need to have success in the future. But I know their attack is definitely the engine that makes them go offensively.
Yeah, that starting attack line of Marshall King, Matthew Varian, Reed Bowering, all the top 3 scorers on this Dragons team. We have a loose ball push, and Drexel will keep possession.
Great defense there. You know, the defensive midi position, we talked about that being such an important piece of the team, or if we haven't talked about it, we need to, because that is one of the most important things. You see a lot of defensive midfielders like Zach Goodrich going number 3 overall to the Cannons. Just how valuable they are, and TJ Camizio, he was that against Penn. He was the only one who could really match up against some of their best midfielders, and right now we're seeing Villanova stepping up defensively, and that's going to be huge in this game.
And Camizio scoops up the loose ball after causing the turnover. You mentioned the MLL draft. We had 3 or 4 defensive midfielders in those top 15 picks. You include Ryan Conrad from Virginia, first rounder as well. A guy, Conrad, that can really go both ways, maybe more than anybody else in terms of being offensive-minded. But a premium being put on that position in the draft last night.
Yeah, and Tyler Dunn, another midfielder that we saw, more of a two-way guy. Yeah. That is so valuable if you can do more than one thing in the MLL, because it's such a up-and-down game, so quick-moving. So something that I know I definitely attribute my ability to have a career was the fact that I played a little bit of short stick, and so being able to do multiple things makes you valuable when there's only 19 players on a roster.
Pass in front, can't get through as Fricaro couldn't handle it.
Good job inside by the Drexel defense of checking down and covering up that dangerous area.
A little bit better weather than we had on Friday night at Villanova. We had snow flurries, temperatures in the 30s today. Expected to be closer to 50 degrees, some rain in the forecast as Colin Mailman comes out of the box, showing that elusiveness, and Mailman has tied it up.
Yeah, Drexel got into what we call a bingo situation, or what we call the bingo situation. That is where, through substitution, you have an advantage. And so great recognition by the other Drexel midfielders to move that ball forward to Colin Mailman. Mailman steps up, and second shot in a row, just absolute high heat on the run in this game. So we might see a little bit of a shootout here. Drexel,
a team that averages a bunch of goals. They put up 14 goals, 17 goals. It's been in double digits every single game so far this season. So don't be surprised if they want to get into a shootout here today. Dan Fisher, part of the two-headed monster for the Wildcats, had the clamp, but ball is pushed away from him. And the whistle, and Villanova will get possession on the scrum.
Great effort by Coita there. That's one of those calls that those frustrate you so much when it's against your team. You know, Coita made a great play, checked directly down on the stick, and based on his momentum, Dan Fisher fell forward, but despite that, I think that should not be a push call.
Gabrielson, Jimmy Gabrielson, part of the second midfield line for the Wildcats in there. Sent behind X. Pass in front, shot just high from Gabrielson.
See Keegan Kahn working at X. He really tried to distribute back there against Penn, but couldn't quite find that step. He kept getting just to the edge and then not being able to turn that corner. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to take that matchup today with a little bit more tired legs on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, here is Kahn. Both these teams playing their second game in 3 days. Part of this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. We'll also have Penn and St. Joe's dueling here at Vidas Field later on, about 30 minutes after the conclusion of this one. Now 10 seconds on the shot clock for Gabrielson. Pass back out top. Kahn beats his man, but he can't get it through. 2 seconds. That would be a shot clock violation, but Drexel gets possession.
Drexel got away with a few there. Couple inside feeds that either weren't caught or just barely got checked.
Transition, and Marshall King finishes. Drexel with its first lead of the afternoon.
Drexel defense got to be pretty thrilled with that. You know, a couple opportunities down there for Villanova. They're able to come away with the ball, do a nice job of moving up the field quickly, pushing that transition. That's the second transition goal that we've seen now. The first, that bingo situation, and now just running all the way down the field. So being able to manufacture those goals, even without clean 6-on-6 possessions, that's a way to keep yourself in a game even when you don't have the ball a lot.
Drexel, a team comfortable going in transition, and King, Varian, Bowering, all guys that can finish at that end of the field. Actually, one of the reasons Marshall King is kind of part of this attack unit, he's technically a midfielder, but in talking to Coach Brian Volker, he's like, look, when we go in transition, I need to have him on the field to be able to finish balls at that end. So they keep Marshall King on, kind of as Connor Kelly played for Maryland last year, technically a midi, but almost an attackman considering he's staying on the field for the entire game.
Yeah, and that's a technique that you'll see on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. Brody Merrill, another guy like that with the Cannons, I know we would keep him on the close defense just so you wouldn't have to have the chance of not being able to sub him on. So great way to maximize the time on the field with the specialization of attack and defensemen by kind of letting them run that midfield position. That's a way to keep them engaged the entire time.
This is the freshman Matt Campbell, and he goes high heat. Matt Campbell knots things up at 2 in the early going.
Nice little roll back, sets his feet. He tests the D-midi, drives down the right alley. Sees a little bit of an overcommitment here. Matt Klings gives him a little bit too much room, so he recognizes that, rolls back, and has that time to set his feet. Kling is normally defending someone back behind an X, more of a close defender. So sometimes as a defender, you're not exactly sure your angles and where to be once you move up to that 8-10 yards winged out. So great job challenging there, and nice work on rolling back and getting his hands free.
Campbell, entering Friday night, had scored 6 goals in his last 2 games. 6 goals in the OT win over Hofstra, and then 6 more against Delaware. So 12 goals in those 2. Did not score on Friday night, so the hot streak didn't continue, but feeling it a little bit here to start the day as TJ Camizio gets another ground ball.
Yeah, I know Matt Campbell's got to be excited that he hit the cage there. I think he was having issues finding the cage and had shot so well prior to that, so it's good to see him kind of get back into that rhythm and that path.
And as a freshman, when you're feeling it like you were, it's got to be tough to hit a cold stretch, but if you're Villanova's coaching staff, it's got to feel good to have him get one here early.
Absolutely, and that comes with the confidence of sometimes not knowing any better.
Kahn rolling from X. Tosses it back out top to Kirst. He's already got 1 today. Did it squeak through? It did. Kirst with his 2nd of the afternoon.
Travis, this is kind of eerily similar to Ross Blumenthal's start last night. Gave up three goals on 3 shots on Friday night as well. This one he feels like he definitely should have had. He was on it and it somehow snuck through him. That's twice now that Kirst has just overpowered Blumenthal with his shooting, and Drexel is going to need to start pushing out. That's 3 goals now that have come from outside 8 yards. So that does get into a tricky situation. Now you start pressing out, and then do you give up the middle? And if you give up the middle, then you start backing it back in. So you get into that back and forth defensive scheme. So also wouldn't be surprised if we see some zone here at some point if they keep scoring from outside.
With Villanova 5 for 5 to start the game at the faceoff X, Liam Mully coming in for Drexel to take that draw, but he went early, so 6 for 6 for Dan Fisher, the Wildcats, to start the game. And Blumenthal coming up with an important save to stop the run. Matt Campbell trying to go high once again.
Drexel definitely wants to slow it down here. They've played a lot of defense with all these face-off wins for Villanova, so going to want to settle it down. And again, get your attack involved. So Marshall King scored that scored the second goal. Make sure they're getting touches so they feel good, start feeling comfortable in their roles.
And the face-off spot will be something to watch because Drexel, the strength of this team is the offense, and the defense has been one of the big question marks throughout the early part of this season. And if you can't win faceoffs, you got to find ways to get stops, and that's something the Dragons have struggled with this year.
Absolutely, and that's what we talked about, kind of manufacturing those possessions with transition. But again, you got to get stops to get transition. So they're going to have to buckle down here, and hopefully, similar to Friday night, Ross Blumenthal can calm down, get the defense organized, and start getting out in those shooters' hands before they get their hands free and shoot as hard as they can.
Mulcahy working from X, gets it back out top to the midi mailman. And now King, 5 seconds to work, gotta hurry. Across the Varian, shot did not get a piece of the cage, and that's a shot clock violation on Drexel.
Nice look there on the backside, throwing that all the way through the defense and finding him back there. Couldn't hit the cage. I thought maybe that got a piece of Vuitton's helmet, but I think it hooked in his stick and pulled it wide.
Well, and that's one shot now. If you're a goalie, you got to know where you are because you don't want to let it go in, but if it's not going to hit the cage, you don't want to touch it if you can't grab it.
Absolutely. It's almost like tennis. Is it going out? You kind of just let it go. Don't go for the swing.
Just make sure you don't miss.
Yeah, nothing would look worse than just not going for a ball that goes in the top corner.
Keegan Kahn gets it back out top, and now we see Joey Fricaro. Younger brother of Jake Fricaro, who was a standout at Villanova a couple of years ago.
See,
battle.
See Klingus out top, working on him again. So I thought maybe that's a strategic. They saw that Klingus had a tough time covering up top. Maybe they're going to try to bring him up there a little bit again, but ultimately want to resettle and get back into a set that they feel good about.
Yeah, Coach Corrado takes the time out here as the 11th ranked Wildcats have an early 3-2 lead in the first quarter. Why don't we take a look back at what we saw on Friday night for the Dragons. It was a slow start for Drexel. St. Joe's was able to get out to an early lead against the Dragons, had a 1-goal lead at the half, but that second half for Drexel was dominant at both ends of the field, allowing just 1 goal of the Hawks in the second half.
Yeah, the defense really came together, and that started in the back with Ross Blumenthal making a couple key saves and then communicating with his defense. You saw the timing of the slides, doing a much better job, and they really weren't able to, St. Joe's was not able to get to the dangerous parts of the field.
And so Drexel walking away with a much-needed win, 10-7, to bounce back after they had lost a couple in a row, losing to UAlbany at home and then losing on the road at Jacksonville 19-12 last weekend. But getting the win and now an opportunity to go 2-0 on the weekend. For Villanova, this is important because you entered the game, or entered this weekend, 11th ranked team in the country, feeling really good off the big win over Delaware, had won 3 in a row. But you lose to a good Penn team that was a little desperate on Friday night, and now if you lose to Drexel, you're sitting at 0-2 on the weekend.
Yeah, I think the Penn loss is tough because they knew how good Penn was, and I'm sure they knew we're not playing a slouch team here. The only reason they're unranked is because they've lost to 2 top 5 teams.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a strange situation. But like you said, then they get themselves into a place where this is almost a must-win for them, or else things start coming off the rails. So good opportunity here. You know, they were able to win at home at their place. Now Drexel is trying to do the same. So looking forward to a great matchup already.
So 30 seconds coming out of the timeout left on the shot clock for the Wildcats as they spread things out for Eric Overbay. This is for Caro. Now back to Kurst. This is where he likes to operate. He picks up the short stick. Under 10. Kurst from downtown. He's got the early hat trick.
You saw 2 Drexel Dragons slide to him as soon as he got a step on that, and that's what they're going to need to do. He was about 18 yards out. That's a 2-point goal in the MLL right there, but you got to count on your goalie to make those saves. That's tough because now you start sending 2 sliders, and there's really nothing you can do if he's able to score those. So you got to rely on I thought defensively played it pretty well. You got to get the slide to get in his hands and make that shot contested.
So Connor Kurst coming off a 4-goal performance on Friday nights in the loss. He now has 3 goals and he's got 10 points on the weekend. Now up to 11 goals on the season. Jimmy Coita back in at the face-off X for Drexel, who is still 0 for at the spot. A big ground ball for the Dragons. And Marshall King comes back all the way to midfield to get it to Reed Bowering. A big face-off win, the first of the afternoon for the Dragons.
Yeah, they really needed that one. And great job by the wing play, and that's something that all these coaches talk about. It's not just the two guys at the X. We talk so much about them because that's who starts the play, but it's really about the face-off wing play and making sure that you're getting the ball into a contested 50-50 and then picking it up and moving it to your offense.
Jack Mulcahy looking to make a run down the alley. He has the short stick on him.
Haven't seen any extended possessions for Drexel here, so be interesting to see what they take.
Varian with the jump shot. There's the mom goal. We had a bunch of those late on Friday night.
Yeah, and I just talked about, if you're Drexel, you want a little bit of a better look out of that possession. That's a one-on-one, not a lot of movement from the, you're not forcing the defense to move a lot. You want to get the ball spinning a little bit, make them work harder so it's not just one man versus one man and hoping for the best there.
Wildcats up by a pair early and a chance to add to it. Kirst streaking out of the box. Connor Kirst is feeling it. He's got 4.
We talked about that substitution advantage that Drexel scored on earlier. That was the same situation. See an offensive midfielder for Drexel chasing, and the Villanova Wildcats are able to sub, get Connor Kirst on before the defensive midfielder gets on. He has a step on him, and basically it's a foot race. Nice job there in the corner of delaying until Connor Kirst was able to get into the most dangerous area and then feeding it to him. So great work by the attack and kind of lulling them to sleep while Connor Kirst finds that seam.
And while it took a while on Friday night for Connor Kirst to really find his shot and find his openings, he is feeling it to start this game. Another face-off win for Villanova.
We joked about his momentum carrying forward. It was like all fourth quarter was him, now all first quarter is him. So he certainly put together a great half across 2 games. No one's covering Connor Kirst right now. A lot of confusion on the Drexel defense.
And he's the only guy you really have to mark if you're Drexel at the moment. You got to know where Connor Kirst is. He's got 4 of the first 5 goals for the Wildcats. Nice takeaway there by the short stick, Cam Harris.
Great poke check. Keeping your stick in front is such an important piece of playing defense. And he doesn't throw a wild check. He just kept his stick out there. And it was actually the attack when he checked himself as he switched hands in front of him.
Luke Hurley clears it himself and will get it to the offensive midfield unit. It's an early 3-goal deficit for Drexel, a team that's been comfortable coming from behind at times this year, including in that thrilling OT win against Michigan back on February 19th. But you're starting to get a feeling that this could be an important possession to kind of change this momentum before things get out of hand at the other end.
Yeah, and they haven't had many possessions, so that's the kind of the positive here is they're only down 3 despite not really having the ball very often. And so that's what it comes down to, is keeping that mentality of sticking to a game plan and chipping away. With only one goal per goal, there's no 2-point line in college. You can only score 1 every time. So you got to chip away and can't get too impatient.
A hands free there for Chris McClellan.
Didn't have much of an angle, but great job of keeping it to the outside so that rebound reset that shot clock and they get a fresh possession.
McClellan, a guy we don't see a ton of in the settled 6-on-6, a man-up player for Drexel, but Coach Volker trying to go for a couple of different options here. Varian, he snuck it through. Matthew Varian on the scoreboard, and it's back to a 2-goal game.
Nice little shake by Varian. Powers it through. Again, I think Vuitton thought he had it, and it trickled off his leg. So right there, he has a step on his defenseman, and he knows. You can see the defenseman 1/2 step behind him there, and he continues his momentum, works upfield. He probably even could have gotten more to the middle there, but great job turning, getting some power on that shot, and putting it through short side.
And right there on the off hip, that's the spot, right? If you're a shooter, you want to aim for.
Yeah, and that was to me, it looked like it might even been short side off hip, but those hips be in such a good area because the goalies typically keep their feet nice and wide, and then they have their stick between their shoulders. So those hips typically come together, so they prevent that 5-hole, and that can often be open. And that's indoor and outdoor, or outdoor and indoor.
Outdoor, indoor. And we finally have a face-off win for the Dragons. They were able to win a face-off scrum for the ball just a minute or two ago, but their first official face-off win according to the stats. And a chance to maybe string a couple of goals together with under 2 minutes to go in this first quarter. There's Mailman coming out of the box. Such an electric Dodger, great athlete on this Dragons midfield.
I would love to see them get the ball to him all the way at the top, because he's got such a good shake with a full head of steam. He just hasn't had that opportunity to showcase it.
That pass was intended for Mailman, saved on the far sideline and kept alive by Bowery.
So here's a situation. Mailman has a man. He can get his shake in. I'd like to see him pull it out and dodge from much further out, so he has that space to really get that defenseman's hips moving and make it much more difficult for him.
Instead, it's Varian working for Max. Draws the quick double. It's stripped away.
Great double team there by Camizio. He has impressed me so much this weekend. I've talked about it a few times, and having a short stick that can not just play great one-on-one defense, but slide well, stay on double teams, and then push in transition. That's so valuable for your team.
Yeah, we saw him against Penn's Sam Hanley, who was red hot. Villanova said, you know what, we're going to give the short stick a chance at him, and he was really one of the only guys who had some success against Hanley on Friday night.
Yeah, he did a great job, and unfortunately, you know, the next possession after we talked about that, he covered Hanley for about a minute and then had to go right over Matthias, and Matthias was able to take him and beat him. But man, he played his heart out, and today is already showing, you know, what kind of player he can be and why he was drafted so high in the MLL draft this past weekend.
Under 10 seconds left. That shot sails in front. Is off the end line. Still a second to operate, but Villanova's going to just have to heave this thing.
And Cam Harris thought there was a little less time, tried to fire that thing, and he probably had 1 or 2 more steps to get down towards the end of the field.
Connor Kirst on fire in the first 15 minutes for the Wildcats. He's got 4 of the 5 goals for Villanova. And Villanova's up 2 after the first.
Get ready to shake your shamrocks at the hottest St. Paddy's Day party in the city. Xfinity Live is bringing you over 175 craft beers from 75 plus breweries at Springfest Live on Saturday, March 16th. Sip on your favorites from Victory Brewing, Terrapin, Leinenkugel, and more with our celebrity co-host, Aunt Mary Pat. Rock out to Split Decision, Bagpipers, Irish bands, and DJs. Enjoy food trucks and inflatable pubs, silent disco, bull riding, karaoke, and much more. Whoa, that's a lot. Don't miss out on the party of the year. Tickets are on sale now at xfinitylive.com.
CAA student athlete.
I respect myself.
Through respecting myself, I respect my opponent.
Through respecting my opponent, I respect the game.
Through respecting the game, I respect the officials.
Through respecting the officials, I respect the outcome.
My example, in victory or defeat, nurtures respect in others.
Will you follow my lead?
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, great on the pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your ticket.
Welcome back. Number 11, Villanova with an early 5-3 lead as we get ready to start the second quarter at Vidas Field, part of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. And Connor Kirst, man, Mitch, starting 4 goals on 4 shots for the Wildcats. He's been red hot this afternoon.
Yeah, he's made his presence known. Just great north-south dodging there. Here, doing a good job of getting his body in the way, running downhill. And so much power behind his shot. That makes a big difference. He's not shying away from that contact. He's getting into his defender, and he's getting his hands free and taking those shots that are just beating Blumenthal with speed, frankly.
Well, he had a career-high 7 points on Friday night. A lot of those goals coming late in the fourth quarter just to make things interesting for Villanova. He's already got 4 goals here today, and we are just ready to start the second quarter. It has been the Connor Kirst show so far.
For last year, 6 was the most points he'd ever scored, was 7 on Friday night, and already 4 here today. Definitely on pace to up those numbers a little bit.
Yeah, big weekend already for Connor Kirst. The junior from Bernardsville, New Jersey. As Dan Fisher wins the faceoff to start the second quarter, shot sails wide.
One of the many Del Barton green wave on the Villanova Wildcats.
That whole, one of the starting midfield units they use, Colin Crowley, Matt Campbell, and Connor Kirst, all 3 Del Barton grads.
Certainly could build some momentum and some chemistry over 6, 7, or 8 years together.
Yeah. This is Eric Overbay starting today in that midfield unit from Alpharetta, Georgia.
It looks like Drexel's dropped into a zone here.
Kirst! He's got a 5 spot.
This is the difficulty with a zone, right? Is you're planning on giving up those outside shots. So if you're not saving those, then it's tough to run zone because what can you do? Or you have to stretch your zone out and then you open up the interior. So I thought that Drexel might go into a little bit of zone here, just a little bit of a miscommunication with who was covering the crease there, and they rotated out too late. You cannot let Connor Kirst step 3, 4 steps down and get his hands free. That's going to be a goal, and he has done it 5 times.
5 of the 6 goals for Connor Kirst. Another face-off win for Dan Fisher. And we have a flag down. I believe that's the 3rd violation on Drexel. So we got a man up coming for the Wildcats as well. That was Liam Mully giving it a try at the X, and neither him nor Jimmy Coita, the starting face-off man for Drexel, has been able to figure out Dan Fisher. Villanova hasn't even had to go to Zach Ornstein, the other part of that 2-headed monster.
Yeah, and if you're Drexel, this can get very frustrating, especially for the offense where they're not touching the ball, they're not seeing it. So this is a big possession here. If they can get a stop and start to feel a little bit better about what their defense is doing, get their offense involved, kill off this penalty.
Skip pass across, shot sails high. Still 5 seconds left on that extra man. Hardy had to go up to catch that pass, and we're back to even strength. Now look out for this guy, 34 in navy blue, Connor Kirst with 5 goals already this afternoon.
He wants more.
And can you blame him? He's 5 for 5. This is where you can get away with a heat check. Kirst tries to split 2, and it's taken away. Much needed takeaway by the Dragons defense.
Big stop, and that's something you can build off of now. Again, as bad as Drexel probably feels like they're playing, they're only down 3, so it's not insurmountable, it's not out of hand here, but they do need to start chipping away in the offensive end and making the most of these possessions because they're so few and far between.
For the Dragons fans, they will certainly remember Drexel down by 3 and 4 goals in the fourth quarter against Michigan back in February, able to string a run together and come back and beat the Wolverines in overtime. So once again, a team that has come from behind in pretty big margins. They're going to have to win some face-offs. That'll be the big thing. Reed Bowering gets to the middle. They needed that one. Bowering with the 3rd of the day for the Dragons.
Just a big physical one-on-one battle there. Nice job by Bowering, using his body to get underneath that defenseman, using that Canadian influence, keeping that stick protected, using his back, his shoulders, a little swim move, and then buries it before he gets pushed into the crease. Nice play there. Goals that we've seen from Drexel have really been mostly in transition and then one-on-one battles. Matt Varian with his dodge from X, and then those 2 transition goals. So certainly good to see that they're able to beat their one-on-one matchups. Now Villanova is going to have to respond by sending slides, and that opens things up a little bit more once you get the defense spinning.
All right, 4th of the day for Drexel as they get this back to a 2-goal game. Colin Mailman with a goal to go along with each one of those starting attackmen, and King, Varian, and Bowering each having a goal as well. The key contributors for this Drexel team, all scoring so far. And a face-off win for Drexel, something we have not seen much of today.
Yeah, if they can string together some possessions here, that's going to definitely help with the psyche aspect, and then they can start getting into a flow from their attack and hopefully getting some contributions from their midfield as well.
Bowering working against Owen Probilski, 6'1" sophomore. Big bodies on this Villanova defense. You go across this starting defensive unit as Mulcahy gets into the middle, loses it. Bowering picks it up.
I can't believe there wasn't a flag on that. That was a cross-check directly to the chin. That could have been a 2-minute non-releasable right there. They're lucky that I don't think the refs were looking inside.
Mailman trying to get a juke, and he does! Draws the flag. It's an and 1 for the Mailman.
I think that might have hit a stick. That looked like it was going low, and then it popped right up. I'm gonna have to see the replay here. Great shake, showing that. Good job by Drexel, giving some space, and that may have just beat him high.
So Drexel gets the ball on the Owen Probilski unnecessary roughness. So a chance to tie it up and string a 3rd straight goal together. Back-to-back goals for the Dragons here in this 2nd quarter.
Because that hit happened after the goal went in, that's why Drexel automatically gets the ball here. It was almost like a dead ball, or it is a dead ball foul, considering the ball had crossed the plane. That was a good goal, and then he got the penalty.
Dragons entering the day super efficient on the extra man, 50%, 14 to 28.
This is the best medicine Drexel could have asked for here.
In front, oh, that was pretty from Soren. The backhand flip, and we're knotted up at 6.
You like Sky Whammy Friday night? I got a new one for you. How
What do
about
you got?
Canadian egg roll?
Oh, the Simpsons reference.
The no look, gets it, puts it low. Goalie doesn't know where it's coming out. Defense doesn't really get a chance to check down. Great skip look there by Marshall King. An excellent finish there by Matt Soren. This is what Drexel needed, right? Quick strikes, a couple opportunities that maybe, right, if you take the faceoff out of the equation, you don't have to worry about winning them. So about as good as it could have gotten for Drexel in terms of making this a great game and getting right back in it quickly.
Matt Soren, not Canadians, from Denver, Colorado, but able to execute the Canadian egg roll in front.
That'll be the Rocky Mountain egg roll for him.
But Dan Fisher back to work at the X and gets a possession for the Wildcats. Now all knotted up at 6 apiece.
Surprised Connor Kirst didn't shoot from there. Probably go in at this rate.
Connor Kirst, 5 for 5, as LSN analyst Chris Marshall would say. That's very efficient. Keegan Kahn back out to Kirst. Now to Matt Campbell. He's got the only other goal today other than Connor Kirst's 5.
Villanova's really stretching out that Drexel defense, trying to get them to open up things inside.
The inside look was there. McManus couldn't quite put it on frame. The backup one by the Dragons.
Great hustle there. That gets your teammates fired up, diving for the loose ball, getting that possession back, and you can feel the momentum starting to tilt in Drexel's favor now with these opportunities on man up, scoring 6 on 6. So things are starting to go their way. Now if Blumenthal and the defense can continue to lock things down, they'll be able to get that first lead ideally.
And there's got to be a rejuvenation for the leg zone defense. A, they got a break finally with the 3 straight offensive possessions, but B, all of a sudden your offense puts a bunch in and you're right back in this game.
You don't feel like you're against the ropes getting punched quite as much. So it gives you that mental edge as well as the physical piece to get a little bit of a rest and catch your breath.
Cam Harris, the defensive midfielder, staying on. He's got Connor Kerr stuck in the defensive end for Villanova. Harris has shown the ability to play offense, has a couple of goals for Drexel.
Yeah, and I like that matchup both ways, to be honest. Cam Harris, like you said, can play some offense, but Connor Kerr is a big physical guy. As long as he keeps his feet moving and does a nice job communicating on defense, he'll be just fine.
10 seconds left on the shot clock as Harris works from the top of the box. Harris sends it in front, a nice easy save for Vuitton.
Saw Cam Harris. That's a short stick D midi, pulling it out, realizes there's 3 seconds, and then fires one. He hears everyone saying shoot it, fires one at the goal. He probably doesn't have a great chance, but you never know. It gets tipped, gets knocked in, someone catches it and dunks it. So not a terrible play. And again, as long as your other midfielders get back, take away that transition, that's okay.
And that was part of it. You saw guys like Marshall King going to change off as Harris sent that one toward the net, knowing, okay, let's get some midfielders back on, settle in for a defensive set. Is Andrew Gallahue. Back to Kahn. It's taken away momentarily. And here we go. George Grippo in transition. No numbers for Marshall King, so he brings it back out. The 6th turnover for the Wildcats so far this afternoon. Genord, step down. Drexel has a lead.
And these poor goalies, every shot they're seeing is coming with full heat. So defensively, these guys are going to get an earful from their teammates, from their goalies back there, just having to face step down after step down. You can't expect them to stop those. That was a nice look, a little bit of transition there. No one slides out. Genord's able to let it fly.
I mean, he's able to wind up for 3 or 4 yards walking into that one. That is a tough task for Will Vuitton in goal.
Not the biggest guy, but if you know how to sling that rock, it doesn't matter how big you are.
So Drexel, who trailed 6-3, it seems like just a couple of minutes ago, has strung 4 straight goals together here. And they have their first lead of the game.
We've got a flag down. The referees are going to discuss. Is that the 3rd violation for Drexel?
Well, they already got a penalty for their 3rd violation. And they're going to wave off the flag. That was the last man up for the Wildcats that was killed by the Dragons. It was the 3rd face-off violation here, the first half.
This is where I'd really like to see Drexel keep their midfielders up where they are now and work the ball around and try to get some dodges from up top. And I think Villanova's done a pretty good job of that, of spreading things out. Drexel seems like they do a good job of getting in their sets and then they stay so tight. They need to bounce back out, stretch the defense, which opens up more opportunities. Although I say that and they've taken the lead with whatever they've been doing. So something's working for them.
Reed Bowering couldn't get that shot around the corner. And Colin Mailman able to track it down on the sideline for the backup. Mailman's had great success, a couple of goals so far today. The junior from York, Pennsylvania. Had a hat trick against Michigan, the first of his career earlier this season. This is Varian in a battle.
Nick Fox doesn't have much room to go. All of Drexel's players kind of packed into that one sideline. But now that left side is completely open here if Ryan Janor wants to take it.
Skips it back out top. Vuitton up to the challenge. Hasn't had a lot of real good looks to save the ball, but he was able to stop that one, his 4th of the afternoon.
He had a good beat on that. He didn't have to move from pipe to pipe. He saw it the whole way, and it stayed kind of that mid-range, high-to-high shot. That's a little bit easier to track there for Vuitton. Did a nice job of staying with it.
Coming up at the half, we'll take you back inside the LSN Broadcast Center, show you some highlights from the first half of this one. Plenty of highlights to choose from. Also check in on some of the other games going on around the country today. Of course, the Crown Lacrosse Classic getting underway. As Kirst, he finally missed one.
I think that hit the crossbar.
Barely.
Crown
barely
Lacrosse Classic. That is a tongue twister there, huh?
It is a tongue twister.
They weren't thinking about the broadcast team when they came up with that name.
It got me. I've been nailing it all weekend after the MLL draft and Friday's games, but it got me here on Sunday.
Cornell Big Red need to bounce back. It would be a huge win if they could take down Towson this afternoon.
Yeah, 1 versus 2 lost a little luster when Cornell went down against Penn State on Friday. Penn State, a team that Villanova knows a bunch about after that big 10-goal loss to open the season.
Yeah, they are scoring at an unbelievable rate in Happy Valley, Pennsylvania.
Campbell back to Kirst and taken away. A big hit, and they let it go.
I think there's going to be a flag down on
get
Kirst. He was frustrated.
After the fact, and Nolan Fox with a long pole goal in transition. The Ridley Park native gives the Dragons a 2-goal lead.
And I got to say, that should have been a call on that first hit on Colin Kirst. That was high and that was hard. I'm sorry, Connor Kirst. And then Villanova went and got a flag based on a retaliation. That's what always happens, is they don't get the first one, they get the retaliation. So I don't know if Connor Kirst popped up, but someone came to his defense and popped the defenseman there that hit him. Understandably, that should have been a call on the very first one. I think you're probably going to look at either an unsportsmanlike here or possibly locked in for a high hit, because both hits were high.
Yeah, it's against Joey Fricaro, Villanova for a minute. You get another look at this. Kirst took a shot high from Cam Harris, and then you see there just in the corner, Joey Fricaro coming to the defense of his starting midfielder.
Coach Corrado wants an explanation. He's saying, how do you not call that first one? And I think everyone agrees. Fricaro's penalty, probably a good call. He came out of nowhere and blasted someone who wasn't near the ball. But that was a frustration penalty. He was upset that the Connor Kirst had gotten taken down with really no call.
Look, these rivalries are real here in the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. These teams play just about every year. Villanova's won 5 straight in this series against the Dragons. And when you see the momentum swings we've seen, it's easy for the frustration to build for Villanova, who had everything going just a second ago, and all of a sudden look up, and now they're down 2. And so we've got a timeout on the field. Drexel is red hot here in the second quarter. We'll step aside and be back for the end of the first half on Lac Sports Network.
Hey everybody, Tom Eschen here in the LSN studios. Time now for our Player of the Year watch. This week, Towson senior captain Brendan Sunday, who's having a breakout season for the top-ranked Tigers. He's already surpassed his point total from last season, and Towson's win over Loyola, especially scoring 4 goals and registering assists in one of the biggest wins of the lacrosse season. Sunday had 4 points, 2 goals and 2 assists in Towson's win over Jacksonville on Friday night in the Crown down in Charlotte. Sunday missed all of 2017 with an upper body injury and came back last year to score 23 points on 17 goals and 6 assists. As I mentioned already, he surpassed that total this year in his first 4 games. He's taking on number 2 Cornell in the Crown Classic this weekend. So it's Brendan Sunday this week. Who will it be next week? Check back each week this season for our Player of the Year watch right here on LSN.
Travis Eldridge, Mitch Belisle back with you here, our CAA Game of the Week. The 3rd game of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic as the Classic is shifted to West Philadelphia, Vidas Field at Drexel, and the Dragons on a 5-goal run. They trailed 6-3 earlier this quarter, but Drexel has strung 5 straight goals together to take a 2-goal lead, outscoring Villanova 5-1 in this second quarter.
Yeah, and the biggest difference has been their time of possession. They just have had the ball more in this quarter. The first quarter was all Villanova. They were winning faceoffs. They were running down, getting into their set plays, and then capitalizing at the end of each of those plays. And that's a recipe for success if you can keep doing that over and over. Drexel found a couple different opportunities, whether it was faceoff violations, whether it was man-up, to get their ball to their offense, and their offense has been finally figuring out ways to crack the code here.
Well, Dan Fisher with some pressure on because this is a man-down faceoff. Joey Fricaro going to the box for Villanova for an illegal body check as he came to the defense of starting midfielder Connor Kirst after he took a high hit. And with the extra man, Drexel able to win it, and it starts the extra man opportunity for the Dragons. And a quick timeout for Drexel as they'll look to set up that extra man opportunity, something they've been very efficient with so far this season, entering the game at 50%. We mentioned the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. This is day 2. We, of course, started on Friday, and they emulated this off of the Big 5 in basketball in Philadelphia. And so much basketball tradition made out of the Big 5. Well, now we have the Philly 4. You bring in Drexel to include St. Joe's, Villanova, and Penn. And you take a look at the map. You got Drexel where we are here today, Penn nearby, and then as you make your way out toward the main line of Philadelphia, you hit St. Joe's there on the outskirts of the city, and then Villanova in Villanova, Pennsylvania. All these schools so close to each other, and they play each other just about every season. So the coaches got together. They actually met somewhere in the middle there in Haverford at a coffee shop over the last several years, and finally were able to figure out all their schedules to make this work.
Yeah, great opportunity for the kids and lacrosse fans of Philadelphia to see some of the top lacrosse played right there in their backyard, and getting the chance to watch some of their local hometown heroes go out and compete, and then also give back to the community with an event that really showcases what Philadelphia lacrosse is all about. Tough, gritty, up and down action. So really exciting to be part of this first year, and I can only imagine it's going to go up from here.
And you can't, you obviously have to say Philadelphia and gritty in the same sentence now after the Flyers mascot. It's taken the sports world by storm.
I'm sure he's somewhere
Gritty
in the
isn't
stands.
out here.
I was going to say somewhere in the stands watching.
And see a big orange blob show up. All the fans would go crazy.
That's how you draw a crowd.
40 seconds left of the man up for Drexel coming out of the timeout. Already have a man up goal today.
Drexel rotating into a 1-4 and then bouncing out into the standard kind of 3-3 that you see most teams operate or end up in. That gives you the most shooting opportunities.
Marshall King stopped by Vuitton.
Big save there by Vuitton, getting his body down low in front of it. Marshall King, an excellent shooter from outside. You saw him sparking their team Friday night. Great opportunity there by Vuitton to shut that down and get Villanova going back on offense.
And we're back to even strength as Connor Kirst comes back with it. Matt Campbell left alone. The freshman just missed that one. You'd probably like to have that back.
Yeah, you got to hit the cage there. Blumendahl has been untested. He's only made 2 saves. You want to put that on cage and really make him work to make a save there. Right there, he got away with one because he didn't even have to go after it.
Couldn't quite get that thing down. Fricaro, tough angle. Almost hit somebody on the sideline. Watch out.
And Villanova is going to want some other contributors here. Connor Kearse, a lot has ridden on his shoulders already today. They're going to turn to him late in the clutch, so they need some other guys to step up here in the middle of the game to chip away so he's not taking every single rep. He can only do so much over the course of the game, and he's already put such an effort in.
And you see Con, he works for Max. That's his traditional spot. Finds Kearse back up top. Gets some help.
Good job there by Drexel, sliding early to Kearse, making sure to force him down and protect that middle of the field. That was one area where I thought on Friday night he tried to do too much. He got to the middle, and Penn did a nice job of collapsing on him, and then he ran out of angle or options. Tonight he's done a nice job of really capitalizing from the outside, and now Drexel's doing a good work of funneling him into areas they feel better about.
2 seconds left on the shot clock. It's saved by Blumenthal. Avoids the shot clock violation, but the Dragons get possession anyway. So after a shaky start defensively for Drexel, they've kind of figured things out here late in the first half.
Yeah, great job of supporting each other, getting slides to those dangerous midfielders like Connor Kearse. And now we see Connor back on defense playing defense. I'm sorry, back on defense playing some against a midi.
Cam Harris, the short stick D-midi. His third goal of the season. And they had both short sticks on there for Drexel. They didn't substitute for the offensive guys, and it's one of them being able to score.
Nothing special there, just a little shake, gets it to his left hand, and lets it fly. Defensively, see number 3 there, that's Matt Campbell. He's an offensive midfielder. Would have liked to see him try to close that gap, but that comes with experience. He's a freshman and an offensive player, so that's going against him. But great job recognizing by Cam Harris, keeping him on, making that move and getting his hands free and really capitalizing at the end of that shot.
Cam Harris, the senior from New Canaan, Connecticut, had 3 goals all of last season. He's got 3 goals already this year. And Jimmy Coita wins a face-off. King couldn't put it home. Backed up there by Bowering. But Harris, a terrific athlete, and when we talked to Brian Volker earlier in the season, he said, look, he's got the green light. He's a guy we trust in transition. He's a senior, and he's also a great athlete that can create his own shot.
Yeah, when you can keep your D-middies on to play a little bit of offense, that puts so much pressure. We talked about Connor Kearse not having to do everything in the offensive end. Now you're asking him to get back and play defense as well. Same with Matt Campbell. That gets tricky as guys start to get tired. Right, we saw Matt Campbell played good positional defense, but then stopped his feet and didn't get out on that shooter. Now, is that because he's a freshman, he's still learning the defensive side of the game, or is that because he was tired because he just ran an offensive possession? But great work and great recognition by Drexel and taking advantage there.
And you also keep guys like TJ Camizio off the field, who we've seen have an immediate impact already today, but it looks like he's going to draw the flag as he was playing some aggressive defense.
Yeah, that's one of those, you got to be careful. Anytime you extend your elbows.
Drexel, the refs are going to say that Drexel called a timeout before the flag came down. So that'll wipe out the flag. A nice break for the Wildcats. And Brian Volker saying, whoa, 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 I didn't call a timeout.
You know what? It looked like Camizio ran into his feet and he kind of tripped himself up there. So it wasn't so much the cross-check or the push being the issue as Camizio just ran into Nick Fox there and they tripped up each other. But lucky there, because that probably would have been a push call if it hadn't been for that timeout.
Reminder, the CAA Game of the Week continues throughout the rest of the season. Coming up, our next Game of the Week on Friday, Utah, the first-year program, coming off another win. The Utes have been on a roll here in just their first year in Division I lacrosse. They head to Fairfield to take on the Stags. That game coming your way Friday night, March 15th, and then the following weekend, a gigantic battle. Denver at Towson. We saw the Tigers. They're now #1 in the country. They've got another big test against the Big Red here on Sunday. They got to go to Duke next week before they then welcome Towson to their place. So the schedule continues to get more difficult for the Tigers, but we'll see them a couple times throughout the rest of the month.
Heavy lies the crown, right? If you're going to be the best, you got to play the best. And they certainly have a great strength of schedule coming up, which is going to be helpful. If they get through that, then there's no debating that they're #1. If they can't, then that opens things up for someone else to take that spot.
Oh, and already with a win over Loyola and a win over Hopkins, Towson is in a situation. You beat Cornell here today. Even if you slip up in the CAA, which is always difficult. We see Drexel playing well today. Hofstra can give people fits. UMass has been turning the corner now. If you slip up against one of those teams, you still have to like your chances making an at-large berth in the NCAAs.
Yeah, absolutely. Those quality wins play such an important role. So getting those early is nice to kind of get those out of the way. But you also never know how things are going to shake out down the line. Maybe Hopkins doesn't end up being such a great team, or maybe Loyola goes on a losing skid. Doubt that's going to happen, but that always is a risk when you just rely on those wins.
And you got a crease violation there on Bowering, so with 21 seconds left, the Wildcats likely getting the last offensive possession of this first half. We're going to end this 6-goal run for the Dragons. Just 5 seconds. Curse from way downtown. Blumenthal up to the challenge. And while Kirst has 5 goals in this first half, Drexel with a gigantic answer in the second 15 minutes. The Dragons outscoring Villanova 6-1 in that second quarter, and they enter the half with a 9-6 lead. We'll be back in a few minutes here from Vitus Field for the second half. But for now, we send you back inside the LSN Broadcast Center. Get you caught up on all of the day and weekend's action across the lacrosse world.
Oh, welcome to the Lacrosse Now halftime show. We are all pumped and excited. Tom, you ready?
That was an exciting first half. That was very interesting, I thought, for the most part. It was awesome.
We had a game of runs.
Yeah, big, great game of runs. Drexel with 6 goals in a row to end the half, 9-6 lead. As we know, going into the day, Nova falling in their first Philly game, and you know they don't want to go 0-2. Drexel looking to go 2-0 on the weekend.
I know, and make a statement. Now, if you missed any of the first half, here are the highlights for you. Tom just told you, Drexel already won the first game from this Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Here they are trying to go 2-0. Connor Kurtz fires a shot and scores to start things off for Villanova to make it 1-0. That's not going to be the last time we see him. Later, we're all tied up at 1. Chris Friedman runs way down the middle and passes to Marshall King. So Drexel takes the 2-1 lead. Villanova up here. Connor Kurtz gets the pass from across field. He runs right down the middle. That would be his 4th goal of the game to make it 5-2. Later, Matt Varian runs up from behind the net. He shoots and he scores to cut the game to 5-3. Let's go to the second quarter. Villanova up 5-3. Matt Campbell passes across the field to Connor Kurtz, who fires it and scores again and make it 6-3. Later in the second, Drexel down 3-6. Reed Bowering works his way around the defense outside the net and scores, and Drexel's going to go on a run. Tied up at 6, Ryan Gennard fires it down the field and scores to take the lead. That's 4 goals in a row for Drexel, and they would not stop there. Nolan Fox runs straight to it. He scores. Drexel takes the 8-6 lead. And here they go again. They would score 6 in a row to end the first half. And Drexel takes the lead 9-6. Been a game of runs. Villanova went on a 4-goal run, but then Drexel responded with 6 in a row. Connor Kurtz of Villanova has 5 goals. That's 5 of Villanova's 6 goals. Matt Campbell, 1 goal, 1 assist. Drexel has 8 different goal scorers right now. What a hot offense, what a hot team. Leading the way is Mailman, who has 2 goals. King, 1 goal, 1 assist, and Varian with 1 goal. And like I said, 8 different goal scorers. Everyone's scoring for Drexel.
Really spreading the love. And Kirsch, those 5 goals, a career high for him. Got some of the 3 of those early, all back to back to back. So it's been some ebbs and flows in this game as well. So it's been kind of fun. Instead of the long pole goal there, Drexel with some swag, celebrating pretty hard. And
you didn't like the celebration, I thought.
Well, we'll talk about that later. Let's get to Chris Marshall, who's now with us via video chat, Skype, I think it's called. Chris, what stuck out to you in that first half?
I think for me, at least initially, was the play of the goalies. I mean, obviously, you want to take a look at the players who were being successful, and we'll get to them. But when you look at the goalies to start this game, I want to say we were 10, 12, maybe 13 goals in, and both goalies only had 2 saves. I mean, they were down below 25% in terms of the save department. Both have settled in a little bit. Blumenthal now with 4 saves, 6 against, 6 saves for Vitten. 9 against, but starting the game, I mean, the goalies couldn't get in front of anything. And part of that was good shooting, but also I think neither guy had kind of gotten the sand out of his eyes before the game. So hopefully they'll be able to pick up the pace here in the second half. I will say that this Drexel squad is shooting very well. They're shooting pretty efficiently, 9 goals on 17 shots. But the important stat there is 15 of those 17 shots hit the frame. So when they're shooting, they're getting them on the frame, and that's causing some trouble for Villanova's defense and the guy in the cage.
And let's talk about Drexel's offense. There are 8 different goal scorers. So how can Villanova contain, and how hard is it to contain a team when you just don't know who can get hot?
Well, I mean, I think at this point they're shooting efficiently. So if they're able to stop them in transition, Drexel's been excellent in transition. And you know, you heard Mitch Belisle talk about Marshall King and the way that he plays attack, and how the coaching staff wants to keep him on the field because he's such a good shooter. And he's been the beneficiary the last couple of games of playing in that transition. But I think you have to respect the fact that he's such a good shooter. And then you have Mailman coming down, and that's opening some seams for some of the other players where they're trying to take away the knowns. So I think Villanova will settle in the second half. I think part of it, again, was the slow start for the goalkeeper. But this is a team that has the talent and the firepower to get back in this game, but they're certainly going to have to slow the bleeding.
Yeah, interesting stat is that Nova is winning the faceoff battle. They've won 11 of 15 faceoffs thus far. So I think that efficient shooting, which you mentioned from Drexel, is really making a huge difference in this one. But those faceoffs translating to Connor Kirst also getting some opportunities. 5 of the 6 goals. I'm thinking they have to spread the love a little bit now if they want to score more, right?
Yeah, and I think when you look at the way that he was playing, and Fisher leading the way, Ornstein 0 for 1, 11 for 15 for Fisher at the X. He's having a great game. You'd like to see that translate into a little more offense. But I think when you look at Chris at the beginning of the game, he scored on his first 5 shots. The 6-1 hit the pipe. I think when you were looking at him trying to go in there and get a little bit of a heat check going because he was really feeling it. I mean, that's as efficient as you can possibly shoot. 5 goals on 5 shots. But I think when you were looking at what he was doing, I think he was trying to do too much towards the end of the half, and they need to get back into their offense because they're certainly a team that can score goals.
And, you know, Villanova, this is the Philly 4 Classic. Everyone was super hyped in the area for this. If Villanova goes 0-2 in this weekend, what will that tell you about the Wildcats?
I mean, they're a team that over the last couple of years have had some really big wins and some sort of mystifying losses. So this one, I think, would be a tough blow to their record and maybe what they're trying to do towards a postseason bid. But I still think this Drexel squad is better than their record. They had a couple of really close losses at the beginning of the season. So I think this Drexel team is legit, and they're definitely going to get some respect, especially if they win this game.
All right, Chris, as we head to the second half, what needs to happen for Villanova to come back, or do you think Drexel will have the edge?
I mean, I like Drexel in the way they're playing right now. I think if I had to pick now, I'd say the Dragons are probably going to come away with the victory. But Villanova has got to shoot more efficiently. Outside of Chris, only 10 of the 20 shots they've taken have hit the frame. So they need to make sure that they're getting better shots and settling into their offense and not trying to play hero ball. If they get back to their game, they have an opportunity to get back into this one and even get the victory, especially with the way they're playing at Face-Off X.
All right, thanks so much, Chris, and we'll talk to you after post-game the show, and we'll have the results and see who kind of comes out on top on this one.
All right, moving on. Let's go down south now. Charlotte, is that down south, Megan?
Yeah, it's down south from here.
Okay, it's south of here, where we are, at least in the world. And then south of Philly, so that my directions are fine. All right, Charlotte hosting 3 of the top 4 teams in the country this weekend. Pretty good field down there for the Crown.
That's right, and featured an upset as 4th-ranked Penn State beat 2nd-ranked Cornell on Friday night.
So today, the one we've been waiting for, Towson taking on number 2 Cornell, just underway. Towson with 3 quick goals to start this game over the Cornell Big Red. Sort of what we've seen from Cornell so far this year. Their defense has struggled a little bit. A lot of teams putting a lot of points on the board. We saw Penn State do that the other night. So early 3-1 lead for Towson right now in the first. And, of course, the second game in that Crown is Penn State and Jacksonville. We'll see if Jacksonville keep on being feisty. You know, they like the Dolphins.
Yeah, John Galloway's got he's got a good group. I think they'll put a competition against Penn State. But you never know. With Ament, you never know what might happen.
See if Penn State can put 19 on the board again. So, yeah.
All right, so make sure you keep it here after today's game, though, because Lacrosse Now post-game show will break down Villanova and Drexel and get you ready for St. Joseph's and Penn, which is our second game of our doubleheader. And plus, we'll have updates from all around the country and lacrosse.
So we got Chris's take on what's going to happen in the second half. What do you feel? You think Villanova is going to make another push here? I think, well, just curse scoring. It feels like Villanova's all right. We could use some more offense.
Yeah,
here.
I think Villanova's going to need to get other people involved, or you just got to keep giving it to Connor Curse. I mean, that can very well happen as well. You know, I think Villanova has the talent. They have the manpower to get back in this game.
They do.
But the way Drexel just pulled out the second half and to score 6 goals on a run, I think halftime, sometimes you can slow down, or it can really, really give you that momentum and really, really push hard, because it's the Philly 4 Classic. You can win both games. Like, that's what Philly fans want to see.
That's an interesting point you make about the halftime happening in the middle of that run for Drexel. So now Villanova's got a chance to go and adjust a little bit and say, okay, this is what we were doing wrong in the second quarter. Let's take a breather and come back in the second half and make our adjustments and put those into play. And that way they can implement those now instead of having to do it on the fly in the middle of the game. They can talk to the guys individually a bit better.
The hard part for Villanova is that Drexel has 8 goal scores. And, you know, Drexel, we've seen that from them all season long. And they have so many guys that can get hot. So it just makes things so interesting. It's going to be a fun second half.
Drexel's been a fun team to watch all year long. Love the CAA team represented. Should be fun. All right, let's head back out to Travis and Mitch. We'll see you guys after the game.
Welcome back to our CAA Game of the Week, part of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Game 1 of 2 today at Vitus Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And Mitch, this started as a all Villanova game. They led 6-3 in this thing, thanks to a 5-spot of goals from Connor Kirst.
Yeah, Connor Kirst was just an absolute beast, dodging hard, dodging downhill, getting his hands free, and then slinging the rock, putting it past Blumenthal. Blumenthal didn't have a chance on any of those. And then they got a couple other opportunities, but Drexel answered back.
Yeah, in a big way. Drexel ended the first half on a 6-goal run. It included this goal from Ryan Genord, where he was able to step down on the pass from Mailman. And all of a sudden, the Dragons with a 3-goal advantage.
Yeah, Villanova's defense seemed a little disjointed. They also had to play a lot more defense. Drexel able to win a couple face-offs. They got some extra man opportunities, and they capitalized at the end of each of those. So getting some momentum building. Now it's going to be up to Villanova to make sure they settle down a little bit. Will Vuitton, great between the pipes, so he's going to have to make sure they're all on the same page and start doing a better job of sliding when necessary and getting out in those quick, shifty Drexel attackmen and midfielders' gloves.
The face-off X was a spot pretty much dominated wide by the Wildcats. 11 of 16 in that first half for Villanova, but Drexel wins the opening face-off of the second half, and we have a goalie change for the Wildcats. Will Vuitton is out. Nick Testa is in, the senior from Rexford, New York.
Yeah, and it looked like early that Blumenthal might have been the one that was going to take a seat, but he's settled in, and now Will Vuitton is out.
An early test for Testa, and it's cashed in by Mulcahy. Make it 7 straight for the Dragons.
Nice little give and go there. Pops it down the wing, gets it back. And then I love this shot. We'll see in the replay. He doesn't wind up. He cuts off ball. He just puts his stick out and places that ball. It wasn't a hard shot. He didn't rip it. If he had pulled it back any further, he probably would have gotten trail checked. Marshall King with a little no-look feed there. plays it off as as Mulcahy kind of sprints to beat his man, and the nice finish there. Don't have to shoot a million miles an hour if you put it right in the exact spot you want it to go.
Now 9 different goal scorers for the Dragons. Just one guy has 2 goals for Drexel so far. That would be Colin Mailman. And it looked like Koida had a beat on the face-off win. He does, and Drexel gets another offensive possession. When Villanova was on that run, they just had the ball for most of the first quarter, and since then, Drexel's found a way to even this thing out.
Yeah, Drexel doing an awesome job at the X already, and then towards the end of that second quarter. But Villanova, I'm not too worried. Villanova was in this same situation where they went on this terrible run against Penn on Friday night, and they were able to come back. And so now they just got to start putting those series together where they're making the right decision, they're getting the ball to their offense, and they're getting quality looks. They haven't had a quality look in minutes. It's been at least 5 or 10 minutes since they've gotten a good quality settled offense and got a shot on goal.
Well, they're able to take that away as Zachary Kryza gets the ground ball. And now a chance to get it to the Wildcats offense. Other than Kirst, everybody else relatively quiet. Matt Campbell, the freshman, with the only other goal for Villanova. On Friday night in the loss to Penn for the Wildcats, we saw this same struggle as you just mentioned. Keegan Kahn was trying to find answers here at the X, but it didn't have a ton of them. We'll see if he can find a way to create now. Jump shot, saved by Blumenthal. But it resets the fresh 80 here as Camizio gets the ground ball. Blumenthal, another stop.
Blumenthal, 2 saves, trips up Kahn behind to slow him down a little bit there. He's feeling good. This is what happened on Friday night for him. He started to get into that groove, that rhythm, and that sparked their offense, and Drexel was able to get the win. So certainly all momentum is favoring the Dragons right now, and Villanova needs to find a way to score a goal or at least get a couple good quality looks out of the offensive possessions.
This is Cam Harris, the short stick D-Midi, playing some offense for Drexel. Gets it to Mailman. Now Nick Fox, the midi, with a run. Shot sails wide. And this is the danger we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast for Villanova. You entered this game this weekend on a 3-game winning streak, ranked 11th in the country. You had beaten Yale in overtime a couple of weeks ago, feeling really good. You lose to a Penn team that was maybe a little desperate for a win, entering Friday night at 0-3. Not a bad win by any stretch of the imagination, but you lose, and now you're on Sunday. You're facing an 0-2 weekend.
Yeah, that's a tough way to go down in this weekend, especially after you come into the weekend feeling so good. So I expect, though, Villanova's gonna claw back in this game. They don't have any fight. Guy like Connor Kirst, he is willing to throw that team on his back. He already has made some huge plays, but it is a little concerned. They haven't scored since the first minute of the second quarter is the last goal they scored. So it's been a long drought that their offense has been able to capitalize. You start gripping your stick a little tighter. You start taking shots that you don't feel are the best shot because you just want to score. So they need to figure out a way to settle down, crack the code, and I think Connor Kirst might be the one to do it for them.
There's offsides on Villanova triggering this man up. A good shot there on the behind the back from King, but we're back to even strength.
Killing that penalty is a good first start for Villanova here.
And here's one of the things you talked about. Mailman coming from way up top toward midfield, getting a chance to get a full head of steam.
Yeah, he really slowed down as he got in that dodge. I'd rather him go full speed, make that quick juke move. But part of that is his teammates getting nice and deep and low to give him both alleys to dodge down. I think they crowded him a little bit, so he didn't have that comfort level.
They had a moving screen on Drexel, so you kill the man up for Villanova, and now an offensive set. Let's see if they can capitalize. Haven't scored in more than 15 minutes. Actually now nearing closer to 20 without a goal for the Wildcats.
They're going to get their offense on, make sure they get the ball around, spread the Drexel defense out.
In front, bounce shot, and it's backed up there by Kahn. Rounds the corner, but it's taken away. Sean Quinn.
Corey McManus, that same kind of off-the-hip bounce shot there. I feel like he's too far out. He scored 2 goals against Penn like that. He's too far out in this game. He needs to either get his hands back further or take that extra step.
What a juke from Mailman! Colin Mailman with a hat trick.
And there is running full speed, making your move and getting your hands free. When he explodes into that dodge, he's got such a quick first step on that crossover type split. He stuns his man, the slide comes a little late, and then that's a great place when we talked about finding the sides of the hips, that being harder for the goalies to get. That's off-stick hip. That's a great shot right there.
I tell you what, flag football or intramural football, I don't want to play against him. I mean, that juke and that dodge he has at the top of the box is almost unguardable.
Well, every kid now is going to quit sports if they find themselves on a YouTube highlight getting their ankles broken, but you know what? I think that was an example of how devastating he can be with that quick first step there. And the key is sending that slide, because it doesn't matter if your ankles get broken if your teammates are there to support you.
Now ties his season high. He also had a hat trick in the win over Michigan and Albany. A couple of hat tricks this season. Now a trio of them for Colin Mailman. Hands free for Overbay, and the Wildcats finally end the drought.
Good take by Overbay, a nice overhand shot there. I think that Blumenthal's frustrated with that one. He feels like he should have had that. I think he maybe was unsure if he wanted to go over the top or underneath. That kind of hit him in that awkward spot off of his hip. Instead of bringing his stick across the top in front of his face, he tried to get up and under with his bottom hand and his butt end. But great take there by Eric Overbay. Again, that's one where Drexel, the defense is playing good. You can't ask much for more of them. And frustration if you're a defensive coordinator, you're like, man, we did the things we want to do. We need a save there.
So it ends the 8-goal Dragons run. We have a loose ball push that'll give it back to Drexel, though, on the faceoff.
Camizio not happy with that call. He's got to be careful. You can see the ref warning him. Not another word out of you. He's got to take that frustration out on the defensive end.
TJ Camizio, he was all over the place in that first quarter. Fresh off getting drafted last night by the Ohio Machine, 15th overall in the Major League Lacrosse draft. And here he draws the matchup with Nick Fox. Shot sails wide. Berrien, Bowering, and King each have a goal. That stellar trio of players on the Drexel offense. So important to how things work, but they've gotten some other guys involved like Mailman and Genord out of the midfield, and that's been key when the Dragons have been successful at times this year.
Nice job by Villanova defensively there.
But Bowering gets the loose ball. He rings the post. And that gets a fresh 80 for Colin Mailman, and the junior's going to settle things down.
Of course, right as I say, great defense. Unlucky bounce gives it right back to Drexel. They take a hard shot that you know, upon further review, that probably bounced right on the goal line and out.
And now Villanova forced to play another 80 seconds of defense. Give and go in front, and I don't know how King didn't put that home.
No, that's a little slip pick. He passed down, act like he's going to go set that pick. He slips to the middle. That was a beautiful play. Classic Canadian box, little slip play there. And again, I think he wants that one back. He scores that 99 out of 100 times there.
Colin Mailman now gets the pole in Ubriaco. Fox stripped away by Camizio. The short stick causes a turnover, but Fox gets it back in all sorts of trouble.
We got a physical ground ball down there. Refs putting the flags away. A couple times I thought they were going to come out, but great job by both teams of scrapping, keeping it contained, but fighting hard for the loose ball. And now Villanova is going to want to settle it down here and get another good offensive look.
Chris Donovan able to win that ground ball battle for the Wildcats. And so after they ended the drought, the last possession, Villanova a chance to continue to cut into this Drexel lead.
Keegan Kahn's been pretty quiet from X. He's dodged a couple times. His feet slid out one of those times, but he hasn't been able to beat his man successfully yet. So look to get the ball to him and see if he can try to start creating now.
Yeah, he's drawn that matchup with Sean Quinn, the top defenseman for Drexel today, and it has not been a good one as Drexel's able to take it away. Will Stabbert causing the turnover.
Nice double team there by the Drexel defense. Clamping down on Joey Fricaro there. Fricaro, I think his feet went out. He felt like he might have been tripped or got pushed a little bit, so he was probably frustrated, but looked like he might have been slow to get up. Not sure if someone ran over his feet or starting to cramp. Obviously fatigue becoming an issue with these teams having played just 36 hours ago.
And once again, Villanova with an offensive midfielder stuck on. Matt Campbell, the freshman, having to work against Luke Hurley from Drexel. Something that Drexel's been able to do pretty effectively throughout the second and third quarters. But Cam Harris threw that one away.
Nice defense. Villanova forcing him down that alley, challenging him to make a play, and that's the way what you want to do if you know you have a primarily defensive player. Now Cam Harris probably plays much offense this game as he's played defense, but smart play there, forcing him down the alley and making that pass to X tough by staying in his gloves.
And kept alive by the Wildcats by midfield, avoiding the over and back.
Great play there by the defenseman, keeping that on that side of the field without stepping over.
So under 6 minutes to go in this third quarter. Game 3 of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. The first game of today coming up about 30 minutes after this one. We'll have St. Joe's and Penn also here from Vitus Field closing out the weekend event. Villanova looking to avoid going 0-2 while Drexel coming off the win over St. Joe's on Friday at Villanova looking to get to 2-0 on the weekend. Dragons have lost 5 straight to the Wildcats. Their last win coming back in 2013. Wrapping around, Gallahue stopped. And Blumenthal, the freshman, is really settled in. He's now got a career best 7 saves today.
Gabrielson was wide open on the step down. That you gotta hit him there. Got guys dodging one-on-one. As soon as you draw that double, it's important that you know where your outlets are. They're behind you and they're in front of you. And he didn't have his head up there. Tried to go for himself, which I can appreciate, but he had a wide open teammate. You got to be able to trust that you can move the ball forward and someone will be there either to move the ball again or to have a shot.
By the way, that last time Drexel won in 2013, paced by none other than now NLL star Ben McIntosh with 3 goals and 2 assists.
Phenomenal player. Drexel, so many Canadians that have made such a big impact in the NLL as they've continued on their career. That pocket, these coaches talked a lot about pockets of recruiting, having these pipelines, that West Coast Canadian pipeline we're seeing with Marshall King and Reed Bowering. So having those guys you can go to that you know you're going to get great players that maybe other people don't know about, or you know they have buddies that are going back and saying what a great experience they're having. That's crucial in the recruiting game.
Loose ball. Blumenthal can't keep it alive for Drexel, and Villanova will get it back. Real quick, go! And it finds the side of the cage.
Villanova has looked...
caused turnover. Good chance. McManus couldn't get the pass off, though. He had Fricaro wide open there on the doorstep. No, excuse me, I think it was Kahn. Instead, it's Campbell looking to operate. Back out top to Kirst, but Blumenthal again.
That's a big save. I said Kirst might be the next guy to crack this one open. That's a shot you want. Him dead center as hard as he can. Great job by Blumenthal to get on that. And of note, Cam Harris is has been on offense the past 2 times with Drexel, and they've turned the ball over the past 2 times. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Cam Harris start working his way back onto the defensive half of the field.
And we've got a flag down. There was a scrum with it. Looked like Reed Bowering got involved as well. But a physical play. I think Reed Bowering grabbed Zachary Kreise's stick. Like, if I can't get the ground ball, you can't either.
And they always get the retaliation. They'll tell you that from the time you're a little kid. They never get the first one. It's always a retaliation.
And Kreise, the guy whose stick was taken away from him, gets the 1-minute penalty. And so Drexel, up by 4 here late in the 3rd quarter, will have a chance to add on.
Villanova penalty, number 12, Zachary Kreise, unnecessary roughness, 1 minute.
Looks like they got the first one this time.
Yeah,
they didn't get the
retaliation.
Proving me wrong. These refs are on top of their game.
Drexel 1 for 2 on the man up today. Entered the day at that percentage, 50%. Very efficient unit.
You're being over 50%. That's where you want to be. So being right there, you're on that cusp. You can feel pretty good that, hey, we get a man up, there's a decent shot, but you want to be in that above 50%. So you're like, hey, it's better than likely that we're going to score. Wow, what a finish!
Again in front, it's Soren, almost identical to his first goal. Drexel back up 5.
And Villanova defense was right there on him, had him surrounded. But the key thing here is you have to be ball side, because he's able to catch that, and he's got 2 Villanova defenders draped all over him. But ultimately, they're behind his stick. So he catches that, comes towards the ball, running away from the 2 slides. The slides double down on him. He's able to protect that stick, turn, and fire. A nice placement just inside that bottom left pipe.
The senior from Denver, Colorado, has proven to be a terrific finisher in front so far today. Now 5 goals on the season for Matt Soren. Had a couple of goals as well against St. Joe's on Friday. And another face-off win for Jimmy Coita. Drexel has found a way, like, kind of almost out of nowhere, to make some tweaks at the face-off X, and now they have been dominant.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Coita has definitely found his rhythm. He's done a great job, and he's winning it right to himself. And then when the scraps are coming, they've been doing a nice job on the wings of being able to get that ball up and back to their offense. So Villanova needs to find that mojo that they had going early, and I think it was a little bit of a swagger. They had that swagger. They felt good. They were dodging hard, and now they're starting to get a little disjointed. They've run some different players at the midfield, the last midfield, with Gallahue and Jack Kinnear. Look to them to go back to that first midfield so they can get something going.
Nice play there by Chris Donovan, the short stick opposite Camizio, to force a turnover. And here's Connor Kirst. He has been quiet since scoring 5 goals in that first half. 5 of the first 6 goals for the Wildcats. And Drexel has found a way to keep him quiet since.
The teams will usually game plan after your 4th or 5th goal. They'll start drawing, so they'll send 5, 6 guys sliding to you after you score 5 goals.
We're not going to let that guy beat us. Overbay coming out of the box, kicks it back out top to Kirst.
Well, and that's where you have to have the complementary threat. So if you do start drawing that double, being able to move it and having teammates that can finish once you do that.
Overbay! He's been a nice compliment to Kirst. He's got his 2nd, and it's back to a 4-goal game.
So last goal, Overbay, alley to his left hand. This goal, Overbay, alley to his right hand. Midfielders, you have to be able to dodge with both hands. Here's a prime example of that, right? Run down the alley, find the seam, get your hands free. He did it to the left side with a nice overhand shot. He does it to the right side with a little 3/4 arm overhand. And again, that's one that Ross Blumenthal, I think he's got to feel like he has it. I thought he was right on it, and it must have slipped in just next to his ear. But pretty good defense, great take there by Overbay, and good work using both sides of the field.
Let's see if they can string another face-off win here together to see if they can cut into this lead a little bit more with 23 seconds left in this 3rd quarter. and it's Camizio who just took the face-off and won it against Koida. Add that to the list of things TJ Camizio can do.
I love the way this kid plays, and we've said his name so many times. Let him run first midfield. He's willing to do what it takes.
Cursed! Hands-free. Oh, he's going to want that one back with 3 seconds left.
Yeah, you could see he had a little bit of an awkward grip as he switched over to his left hand.
And Campbell couldn't get the shot off. But the Wildcats, a tiny bit of momentum to end the third quarter. They get it back to a 4-goal game, but all Drexel. The Dragons stretching out a run to 8 goals, including this one from Colin Mailman. He's got a trio. The Dragons up by 4 entering the fourth.
Get ready to shake your shamrocks at the hottest St. Paddy's Day party in the city. Xfinity Live is bringing you over 175 craft beers from 75 plus breweries at Springfest Live on Saturday, March 16th. Sip on your favorites from Victory Brewing, Terrapin, Leinenkugel, and more with our celebrity co-host, Aunt Mary Pat. Rock out to Split Decision, Bagpipers, Irish bands, and DJs. Enjoy food trucks and inflatable pubs, silent disco, bull riding, karaoke, and much more. Whoa, that's a lot. Don't miss out on the party of the year. Tickets are on sale now at xfinitylive.com.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Welcome back to our CAA Game of the Week. Drexel, 4-goal lead over number 11 Villanova to start the fourth quarter here at Vitus Field. Travis Eldridge, Mitch Belisle back with you. Get ready for this fourth quarter. Colin Mailman, I don't know what his crossover is like, but his dodging ability on a lacrosse field is pretty darn good.
Yeah, and we've seen when he's able to get that speed and have that long run, that's when he's had success. So, challenge for Drexel, get him more room, right? Get room for Colin Mailman, because when he has his hands free, when he has a head of steam, no one can stop him.
The third time this season that Colin Mailman has a hat trick. Let's see if he can add to that career high here as we get ready to start the fourth quarter. And something to note, Villanova's got 2 primary faceoff guys, Zach Ornstein and Dan Fisher. It's the short stick, TJ Camizio, instead battling Jimmy Koida. He won the first faceoff he took here at the end of the third quarter, and he's back out to start the fourth.
Yeah, I wonder, something must have happened to Zach Ornstein in the last game, because he hasn't played at all today, and I'm surprised because he is typically their second option. So I'm wondering if he got banged up in that game on Friday night, or if there's something that happened over the weekend. But I haven't seen him out here, and I'm surprised by that. But Camizio has definitely been serviceable at the X.
Yeah, Ornstein did take 1 faceoff that he lost so far this afternoon. But otherwise, it's been all Dan Fisher, and now Camizio getting a run. The faceoff win goes to the Dragons to start this fourth quarter, and Mailman back at it.
Nice job crowding Mailman so he doesn't have that head of steam that we talked about making him so successful.
It's now Fox making a run. He's matched up against Camizio, gets him to fall down. Nick Fox has got a goal.
Fox family got to be excited. Both sons on the board today.
Got Nick adding to Nolan's long pole goal from earlier.
And you could see Camizio's putting his hands up. He's saying, how is that not a ward? You see that free hand of Fox. You know, it's out now. Does he use it to push off? I don't know. It's out. Is it extending? That's debatable, but ultimately I think Camizio had slipped in. I don't know if he was going to get back in position either way, but that is a challenging one. He's looking like he's putting his hand back on his stick, but smart play by Fox. Way to keep his feet moving.
The old little chicken wing you see on a basketball court. Get just enough space to get the hands free. Once again, Camizio at the X for the Wildcats, and Koida able to win it cleanly to himself. What a turnaround from Jimmy Koida. And credit Coach Brian Volker just staying with Koida after his struggles early on.
Yeah, he talked about what a great kid Jimmy is and how much trust he has in him on that phone call. And you can see that level of trust by saying, you know what, you might not have played your best, but I believe you can.
Kirst is looking for his 6, but it's kicked away by Blumenthal.
Big save by Blumenthal. He needed that one. And Kirst, you know, not a great angle shot. Figured he could overpower him, and great job by Blumenthal hanging tough in there and making that save.
And Drexel wins a ground ball. Another empty offensive possession for the Wildcats. Scored 5 goals in that first quarter, Villanova, as Reed Bowering gets to the crease. Whoa, that's going to be a flag as he took out Nick Testa. And it wasn't on purpose, it doesn't look like. Bowering tangled up with a defender.
I think Bowering's definitely going to get a penalty here, but I think you're also going to see a hold or an unnecessary roughness on someone. So Reed Bowering, clearly it's his responsibility to avoid the goalie. He did not do that. The defenseman didn't push him directly into the goalie. So that's going to be a penalty for sure. The second penalty, I'm curious, I think is going to go against Drexel, but I don't know what they're going to call. I'm sorry, it's going to go against Villanova, but I'm not sure. Oh, no, looks like they're calling both against Reed Bowering. Oh, no, they did call Villanova with a 30-second push there.
So there's a 30-second push on Owen Probilski from Villanova, and then a 2-minute unreleasable penalty on Reed Bowering. And remember, that's part of the new crease dive rules that have been implemented in the college game this year. And it is up to the referee's discretion when a player dives in on A, whether it's an illegal dive or not, if they're diving toward the goal mouth, but B, they have the discretion to go from 1 to 3 minutes on that penalty, depending on how egregious they feel like the act is.
And you could see the referee explaining to Coach Volker that his angle of direction was directly at the goalie. So no matter what happened there, he was going to run into the goalie. And so that's why I think they went with the 2-minute as opposed. Now, he wasn't trying to injure him. He didn't dive directly at him. So I think that's why they didn't go with the 3-minute. But then he was also pushed towards the end of the play by Probilski. So I think they made the right call in this situation. And ultimately, I think that was the way to do it. Now, because of the 2-minute being non-releasable, I believe that's why Villanova is getting the ball here at the end.
Yeah, so it'll be 30 seconds to start where we have 5-on-5 lacrosse. Villanova likely going to wait out that first 30 seconds and then have the man up, 6-on-5 for the next minute and a half. That will be unreleasable. Actually, they're just going to go.
And yeah, I think they were... I do not like that
Saved
look.
by Blumenthal.
Corey McManus, he's made his name finishing inside this weekend, and that's one where, you know, wait for the best look possible. That's not the best look possible, and now you're giving it right back to Drexel. Now, they're still going to have to kill a penalty and be man short, so you have the chance to be a little bit more aggressive and send another Wildcat out on defense to double the ball. But yeah, I would have if they're going to go, you want to get a great look, otherwise pull it out, and that wasn't the great look they're hoping for.
So already almost 30 seconds of the 1.5-minute unreleasable penalty left after the Probilski penalty has been released. The Wildcats got to try to get the ball back. What a move by Hurley. The short stick D-Mitty just playing keep away.
And you know, sometimes this, when you have to double and you do double, this can be a more dangerous situation. You over pursue and you open something up in the middle, or you draw a flag and you lose that advantage. And here you go. They just came over the head. I'm surprised.
Yeah,
yep, there it is.
Yeah, there's
the trail referee. The trail referee wasn't going to throw it, but the one who was seeing it. That's what happens so frequently, is because you have nothing to lose as the team that's trying to kill the penalty, you just run through checks. You do a great job protecting your stick, and there's a good chance they're either going to draw a flag or you're going to find yourself in front of the net with nobody on you.
And so it goes up against Patrick Kennedy, the redshirt sophomore from New Jersey for Villanova. And so we'll have a 5-on-5 once again for 30 seconds. Drexel only will have now about 5 seconds of an extra man themselves.
And so interesting question there with a 2-minute non-releasable penalty. You know, they kind of got rid of it quickly. I don't know how much time would have been left if they just ran out the shot clock there. So instead of doubling, you just sit back and say, okay, fine, kill 60, 70 seconds of this, but then we're still going to have 20, 30-second man up. So
you're right.
You know, it's a debate. Probably not. Maybe a 3-minute you do that. 2-minute, you're probably going to want to be more aggressive, but still, you run that risk of doing exactly what they did, which is taking a penalty. Ooh, nice over the head check.
Mailman has it taken away by Ubriaco. And so 5-on-5 for Villanova now.
It's a great name to say, Ubriaco, huh?
Just rolls right off the tongue. Across! Just as we got even strength, Chris Donovan cashes in on the backside. The short stick D-Mini with the first goal of the season.
What a finish. That was a quick stick, kind of alley-oop on the back door. Nice look there by Comizio, finding him all the way on the backside. And great job handling that low pass, staying out of the crease, and finishing before the goalie can get back across.
The short stick D-Middies connecting for that one. Give the assist to TJ Comizio. Chris Donovan, the transfer from Georgetown, with his first goal of the season. And actually his first goal as a Wildcat. Did have 9 goals with the Hoyas back in 2017. Last year just with an assist for Villanova. But Koita wins it again to himself. Nice save, an important one by Testa. That's Testa's first save since coming in this to start the second half.
Yeah, and that's got to feel good for him, facing down Marshall King, who's such a dangerous shooter, to make that save and get back to your offense. And now they've got their first midfield on.
Kirst!
Kirst, he's looking for that 6th. He wants the sock trick.
He does.
Although I don't know how many socks are going to come flying on the field. Looks pretty cold and wet there. I think everyone needs extra pairs of socks.
I would keep the socks on if I was in the stands. Kahn. Back out to Overbay.
Overbay's had the hot hand latest for Villanova.
Back out to Kirst, and they're just feeding Connor Kirst.
Heat him back up, because when he was hot, he was unstoppable, and it was the 4th quarter in the Friday night game, 1st quarter here. Try to balance that out, get a couple more out of him, and he'll really be getting this offense clicking.
Ricardo took his eye off that pass. Still 26 seconds left on the shot clock for Villanova. Kahn feed to Campbell. He couldn't cash in, but it's a fresh 80 for the Wildcats.
Great cut there by Campbell. Just had a little bit more time inside. He caught it and probably could have let that go. Oh, nice look inside.
Oh, Kirst had his man.
Patrick Daly just couldn't handle that thing inside.
That was a great look.
And that's what I talked about, is once, you know, if you're shooting and drawing that slide, once you start drawing that slide, if you can have your head up and find the open teammates, that's such a valuable secondary asset. And right there, he did such a good job of it. You got to count on your teammates to be able to catch those, especially when you're wide open in front. And you know, Patrick Daly hasn't been in there the whole time. He replaced Corey McManus, so he's coming in a little cold. Maybe he hasn't touched the ball yet this game, at least off of a pass. So can understand how that first one might be a little tricky.
So Drexel now under 10 minutes to go in this game, up by 4 on the number 11th ranked team in the country. And Colin Mailman looking for his 4th goal of the game, but he's stripped away. Just at the last second, Chris Donovan pokes it out, but a flag on the Wildcats, and Villanova can't believe it.
Donovan with the diving trail check there. Nice dodge.
Might have saved
Mailman.
a goal. Just enough.
Excellent play, and Comizio comes through at the end and gives him a shot. You know, that's tough. He thinks he might have still had the ball. It's kind of like that hard foul in basketball, right? If they're going up, they're dead center of the goal. You know, maybe you push them. It's like, hey, I'm going to get the penalty. I know it, but they're not going to score. Unfortunately, he didn't realize the ball had popped out. So, so if he had just held off there, he would have been just fine.
It's like football as well. Like the quarterback just gets rid of it, and if you're a linebacker bearing down, you can't stop.
Gotta avoid the contact.
So a 30-second man up on the push for the Dragons. Also keeps Camizio off here.
Another chance for Tess to get another save and get that confidence and start getting that defense together, especially with a 30-second. Probably only going to see one shot in this possession.
And that's an errant pass taken away by Colin Hunt. Testa's got to show off the moves and gets rid of it.
I think Marshall King wanted to throw that and at the last minute decided not to. He couldn't pull it back.
So Villanova kills the man up, back to even strength. And Patrick Daly and his offense will go back to work. He can score in a hurry. They showed us on Friday night when they strung 4 goals together late to make that game against Penn a lot more interesting down the stretch. That shot rang off of somebody's helmet from Campbell.
Still going up.
They'd be headed toward the cars in the parking lot.
Matt Campbell's got 1 goal, but after 2 games sitting at 1 goal, you know, he had 12 the 2 games prior. That's someone who, down this stretch, they're going to need to score a couple goals here. They're going to need to be a contributor if they want to get back in this thing.
And Fricaro's pass is intercepted by Drexel. A couple of guys for Villanova that they could use to step up there offensively. So we got a numbers situation. Nolan Fox, the nifty finish.
Great finish there. Tucks it underneath and then rolls it back, almost like a backhand, into the bottom right corner. Fox family, big party here in Philadelphia for the Fox family.
The second goal of the afternoon for the long pole, Nolan Fox.
Nice play. If he had brought that stick anywhere else, he was getting checked because the Villanova defense did a nice job of collapsing down. You can see Owen Probilski hustling to try to make that play and puts it where only he can handle it. Matt Varian kind of stalling for time, getting the ball to him, and then nice finish there by Fox.
So Nolan Fox and Nick Fox, the LSM Nolan and the short stick offensive midfielder Nick, now combining for 3 goals for the Dragons.
And Jimmy Coit has been automatic at the X. That's such a big difference maker. Make it take at Lacrosse is so hard to beat.
And after Drexel couldn't buy a face-off in the first quarter especially, Coita has been able to make some adjustments, and now Villanova can't seem to get one. Drexel with a 5-goal lead, now 14-9. Under 7 minutes to go. A chance to take a full 80 seconds and get a good shot.
A good opportunity here for Drexel to really use the clock, right? You don't want to rush anything. If it's there, take it, but use 60, 70 seconds of that clock and then end with a good shot.
Varian gets it away to King. Mailman, he's got 3 today.
Villanova's going to have to start taking some chances defensively here with that. If they just keep stalling, they're going to be in trouble because they get 5-goal cushion to try to make up.
Bowering gets the short stick, Camizio. Sends it back out top to Fox. I think Testa got a piece of that.
Testa had no idea where that was going. I don't know if it got deflected or he just couldn't see through the pile, but he went one direction, the ball went the other. So lucky that was not on cage there, but helpful for Villanova here.
Yeah, Wildcats entering the weekend, 11th ranked team in the country, had won 3 in a row. They lose to Penn on Friday night as the Quakers, after Villanova had gotten within 1 in the second half, the Quakers responded by scoring 6 of 7. So now down by 5, nearing 5 minutes to go, facing an 0-2 weekend as part of this Fiddly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Kirst trying to get anything going after the 5 goals in the first half, and it's pushed away by Blumenthal. The rebound is put home.
Nice job there by Patrick Daly. Last time, ball was thrown his way, couldn't corral it this time. It's thrown at the goalie. He says, I'm not missing it again. Picks up the rebound and buries it. Great work being Johnny on the spot there.
Fourth goal of the season for Patrick Daly, and Blumenthal stopped Kurz but can't stop the one right on the doorstep. And Villanova desperately needed that answer.
Yeah, Connor Kurz, you know, I think Blumenthal has figured him out. He's been able to make those 3 or 4 big saves on him. So he's feeling good, and then great job by Patrick Daly and tracking that rebound. And you saw it. He wasn't getting there. There was 2 bodies and a goalie there, but he did a nice job of reaching his stick in and just placing that ball where it needed to be. We saw that early in the game from, I believe it was Jack Mulcahy's dodge, where he just used that placement. It's not always about power in lacrosse. Sometimes if you can find the right spot and tuck it in there, you can just gently place it where you want it to go.
And Jimmy Coita again wins the faceoff. Villanova staying with TJ Camizio, the defensive midfielder, to take faceoffs. Their traditional 2 guys, Zach Ornstein and Dan Fisher, left on the bench by Coach Mike Corrado.
Yeah, do you look at bumping a pole up this late in the game? You need the ball back, right? So I like Camizio there to scrap, but maybe you put 2 poles in the wings and really make it a battle there. And so Jimmy Coita has to run out of a double team with a pole, or a double team and Camizio on a pole.
Bowering trying to set it over to Genord. He lost it for a second, but kept alive. Still 30 seconds left on the shot clock.
And now we're getting right to that territory where, the shot clocks are going to start really mattering here, because if they can get 1 reset or 2 resets, then they could just keep stalling. But if they don't, then Villanova's going to keep getting the ball back.
Varian sends it wide. Did not get a piece of the goal or the goalie, so still just 9 seconds on this shot clock.
I expect the Drexel midfield is way up at the midline right now, or starting to even head out. Look for a little one-on-one from X, just kind of all or nothing, or with everyone else dropping back.
Varian sends in front. Nobody home, and so the shot clock violation gives it back to Villanova.
Marshall King trying to get a little post up there.
Yeah. The one Canadian not on this attack unit. Unforced error by the Wildcats. And nice play by Stabbert to get it to his own guy.
You miss that pass, you got to at least hope that someone from X or one of the other attackmen comes flying over. And I don't know if Corey McManus was working his way the other direction, but he kind of came towards that a little too casually. So not sure what happened there, but that's got to be frustrating. Oh, and Popilski just with a lead block there.
A turnover right back gives it to Chris Donovan. Unsettled situation, Ubriaco stopped. Blumenthal now up to 12 saves on the afternoon, his first ever double-digit save performance, but a turnover gives it back to Ubriaco. Unsettled. Bounce shot does not go, and Blumenthal won the backup.
That's a tough call. Corey McManus is upset, and I understand that. I thought he was in the right spot. And they're going to correct that call. He was certainly the closest to that ball when it went out.
I believe it's just a timeout. Let's take another look at this thing. Ubriaco shot it, and
You know what?
lost his mouthpiece
Went for the old mouth guard home run derby.
And we have a timeout in the field. We'll step aside. Under 3 minutes to go. The Dragons on the verge of an upset at Vitus Field.
Hey everybody, Tom Eschen here in the LSN studio. Some guys in the field today in Philly taking in the MLL draft last night, and what a wild night it was in Charlotte as Alex Woodall taken first by the Ohio Machine, shocking everyone who thought Pat Spencer would be the top pick. Woodall, a face-off guy, having a breakout senior season, winning 72% of his face-offs. In his previous 2 seasons, he was right around 60%. His 67 ground balls in 5 games, well on pace to break his previous career high of 101 in 15 games last year. Just so you guys know, for the Ohio Machine, Kenny Masson and Greg Pascoljan, the main current face-off guys on the roster. and it took longer than previously thought, but Chesapeake taking the hometown boy, Pat Spencer, at 7th overall. Dave Cottle saying on our air that Spencer was one of his top prospects, and there he goes. The Bayhawks taking a chance on Spencer, who we know could play basketball next year. He would join the likes of Lyle Thompson, Colin Heacock on that Chesapeake attack unit if he chooses to play. Spencer with 37 points thus far in his senior season. Here's a quick look at the rest of the first round. You can see rounds 1 through 7 right now on demand here on LACSportsNetwork.com and the LSN app.
Under 3 minutes to go at Vitus Field. Travis Eldridge, Mitch Belisle back with you here in our CAA Game of the Week. The first game of the doubleheader here in the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. The second day here in West Philadelphia. And Drexel, after winning a backup race for it by Ross Blumenthal, the freshman goalie, getting his second career start, made his first career start against St. Joe's on Friday. He's got double-digit saves today, and Villanova needs to force a turnover here. Instead, Varian wins it, but taken away by Donovan. And Nick Testa, who came in the second half, corrals it in his crease.
And Travis, Ross Blumenthal, almost identical situation that he had on Friday night, right? He came out, couldn't save the first couple shots, but then settled in. Tonight, came out, Villanova went up big. Connor Kurse had his number, was scoring at will, and since then, he's settled down. He's made some huge saves. He's diving at balls off the end line, so great poise that he showed, and that's really defined this Drexel team, is that poise.
Shot
right?
sails high there from Gallahue, and yeah.
Coida as well,
right?
It came out struggled, but they've come back. So something that Coach Volker has got to be thrilled with is their ability to face that adversity and come back. And you talked about that with the Michigan game, being able to take that and then not just roll over and fight back.
And we have a timeout in the field, and I think you're right, and you credit Brian Volker in sticking with his freshman goalie in both games, because against St. Joe's, this Drexel team was down at the half, able to come back and win on Friday night. And same thing here, down 6-1 at one point in this game, and able to battle back, excuse me, 6-3, able to battle back and find ways to win. Here's a look at what Drexel has coming up. You go to Georgetown, another difficult non-conference game coming your way next weekend, next Saturday. Go to Providence, and then we're into CAA play, and you kick things off with the defending CAA champs in UMass, who seems to have turned the corner a little bit in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and these are all tough games, but I think these are all games that they can be. They're in every single one of these. None of these you're like, oh my gosh, they're in trouble, right?
Yeah.
This team has such a solid offense, and like I said, their ability to bounce back has been what's impressed me so much. And if they can continue getting consistency from Ross Blumenthal, and maybe you just start him in the second quarter. Maybe that's the way to go for
Start
him.
somebody else for the first 15 minutes, and then we'll bring him in.
Don't start him, but or it's like, all right, just let him stand to the side, let him score 2 or 3 goals, and then step in there, and you're going to start making saves. But he's been great. So credit to Ross Blumenthal of doing a much better job as he kind of finds his comfort zone, and now he's going to have to stand up tall as Villanova is going to mount a big comeback, just like they had to the other night.
Yeah, remember, the last 3 minutes is when Villanova made that thing interesting against Penn. The Kurst has it stripped away. Caused turnover for Jack Farrell. Kicks it forward to Bowering, and the Canadian gets it out to Marshall King.
And the Drexel bench is letting him hear about it. Nice work there by Drexel. Good double team. And Connor Kurse, he keeps running into those double teams, and that's I think they're just too flat right now. At the beginning of the game, they were so spread out, and part of that is got to be fatigue. Everyone's not sprinting in and out to create that space for their teammates, so he needs his teammates to give him more space to get that downhill dodge and get his hands free.
And now it's desperation time for Villanova as they look to double the ball. The goal is empty. They will get the ball back, but I mean, not enough time to score 4 goals unless they cause a turnover like this. Camizio ahead to Kahn. Under a minute to go. Shovel pass in front is taken away. Colin Mailman. One of the faster guys on this Drexel team, showing off the speed. How about one more? The Mailman delivers. A career best 4 goals for Colin.
can't teach speed, and he turned on the afterburners, and no one was getting close to him. So great job getting it up and out. He sees, he looks around, evaluates, says, no one's catching me, goes right to the hopper, and then buries it. That's a great insurance policy.
Who says the mail isn't delivered on Sunday?
How many of those mailman puns have you got teed up here? That's 2 in 1. That's 2 on 1 goal. He needs to score more so he can get them all out.
Colin Mailman's first career 4-goal game after this was his 3rd hat trick of the season, and the midfielder continues to be an important part of the success for Drexel. And how about the Dragons? You had a game last weekend against Jacksonville, had a bunch of travel issues. They came out flat, and we talked to Brian Volker this week. They lose 19-12 to the Dolphins on the road in a tough spot to play. The game was moved up to the morning because of weather in the area. Not a good situation for Drexel, who at that point had lost a couple in a row. And then to come into this weekend, bounce back after a tough first half against St. Joe's, and then battle back here against Villanova, they're going to walk away with a 2-0 weekend.
Yeah, he's got to be psyched here. And not just that, but the confidence of, okay, we know who our starting goalie is. Okay, our defense, when we buckle down, we can do great things. So this is a weekend that Coach Volker has got to be thrilled with and something to build on as they head in the meat of their season.
2 starts for Ross Blumenthal in goal. The freshman's got a pair of wins as Drexel, the Dragons, upset Villanova 15-10, and they walk away from the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic at 2-0. And we said it throughout this game. The Dragons giving Blumenthal extra shots. Koida figures it out at the X. The defense figures it out, and they walk away with an impressive win over the number 11 team in the country.
Yeah, extremely balanced across the board, like you said. The face-off X, area of concern early, wipe that out. Goaltending, area of concern early, wipe that out, became dominant towards the end. And then what they said is, we know where we're going to get our points from the attack, and they did. They delivered each of them with a goal. And then the midfield, everyone's stepping up with a couple from the back line, with Cam Harris contributing 1, Nolan Fox contributing 2, pushing the ball in transition. So all-around great team win and good ability to take those weaknesses early and turn those into strengths late.
So once again, your final score, Drexel 15, Villanova 10. Thanks for watching the CAA Game of the Week on Lac Sports Network. For Mitch Belisle, our producer Dylan Hand, and our entire crew, I'm Travis Eldridge. We'll be back in about 30 minutes with the final game of the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Penn and St. Joe's closing it out at Vitus Field. But right now, we send you back to the LSN Broadcast Center.
All right, so another upset at the Philly 4 Lacrosse Classic. Drexel over Nova, 15-10. Drexel 2-0.
Right, I know it was a really good game. We thought it was going to go one way, and then it just flip-flopped everything, and then like, oh, wow, Drexel looking pretty good out there.
Villanova going winless. So interesting 0-2 weekend for the big Philly Classic, all these Philly schools, and of course, we got another game coming up in just a little while here, about half an hour from now. So we'll see what happens. But we're going to start actually with an update of what's going on down in Charlotte. We've got number 1, Towson, taking on number 2, Cornell. And let's get right to the first half highlights, because the first half's in the books, and you're going to want to see these. Excuse me, Colby Smith, the long stick. We've seen this from him this year, driving to the net with the goal, and a little bit of a celly after that, showing how strong he is. 1-0 Towson, still 1-0. Towson on the man up. There is Brendan Sunday, just drafted into the MLL by Atlanta. 2-0 Towson. Later in the first, Jeff Teat to Clark Pedersen. I'm going to repeat myself several times saying that. You're going to see why. 2-1 at that point. Then Luke Frommert for Towson scores 2 straight goals. So Towson takes a 4-1 lead. And then Colby Smith, he did it once. That's not a replay. He does it again. Another long stick goal. He's like, come on. Are you not entertained? 5-2 Towson up 3. Cornell was not entertained at all. This is a beautiful seeing eye pass from Teat to Pedersen, 5-3. Cornell gets another. We go to the second. There is Pedersen again with about 3 defenders on him in front. He wants to be fed. Keep feeding him, and yes, they will. Let's go to another look at Pedersen. This time, the dodge, and then just a little bit of a slip through with the right hand going top right. He's strong. Pedersen keeps it going. He had 8 goals in the first half of this game. Look at the sideline going nuts as Cornell has a 12-6 lead over the #1 Towson Tigers. Who knew? Donville for Cornell has a couple goals. He doesn't have a goal, but he has 3 assists, and Pedersen is just getting fed all game long. As I mentioned, he has 8 goals. Frommert, Smith, 2 goals apiece. Alex Woodall having a great day at the X for Towson, but so far, Cornell is really, that second quarter was unbelievable as Towson had the lead early in that game and Cornell making a big comeback. And, of course, Penn State, who just beat Cornell on Friday, plays Jacksonville. So kind of wild things going on there.
Right. I think Monday it's going to be a very interesting topic when those rankings come out. Because
it's not good to be #1.
It is. You know what? So that game was all about the second quarter. You know what else was all about the second quarter? This game, Villanova Drexel. We just wrapped up this game, but let's just refresh your memories on what happened. First quarter, we're all tied up at 1. Chris Friedman runs the way down the middle to make it 2-1 Drexel. But then later, Villanova up 4-2. Connor Kurz receives the pass. He runs up the middle and he scores. Villanova extends that lead 5-2. And then later in the first, Drexel down here. Matt Varian runs up from behind the net. He shoots, he scores. So Drexel's trying to get back in this one. Second quarter we go. Reed Bowering works his way around the defense outside the net and scores to make it 6-4 to cut it closer. We're all tied up at 6 now. Ryan Gannord fires it down and scores to take the lead. That was a 4-goal run for Drexel to get that lead. Later in the second quarter, same score. Nolan Fox runs down the middle and scores. Drexel goes up 2-6-8. Let's go to the third quarter. Drexel up 10-6. Colin Mailman fake the D, shoots, he scores. Drexel leads 11-6. Fourth quarter, it's 12-8. Nick Fox fights his way through defense and rips it, shoots low, he scores. 13-8. And later in the fourth quarter, it's now 13-9. Matt Varian passes to Nolan Fox right out front, making it look so pretty. Drexel goes up 14-9. And as you guys know, they would go on to win this one 15-10. That was your final for Drexel. You had Colin Mailman, 4 goals. Marshall King, 1 goal, 3 assists. Blumenthal had 13 saves in net. Connor Kurz, he had a day for Villanova, 5 goals, but it wasn't enough as Drexel had 10 different goal scorers to wrap up this win and upset number 11 Villanova.
Kurz just those 5 goals in the first half, right? And didn't really do much after that in the second half. So it was interesting how things changed and didn't change, I guess, as the game went on.
Villanova had a run at first in the first quarter, then Drexel responded with a 6-goal run, and they came back out in the second half to score 2 straight, and Villanova just couldn't catch it back up on that one.
Yeah, we've got Chris Marshall back with us live via Skype. And Chris, that second half, did that go the way you thought?
I mean, I thought Drexel had a really good opportunity to win that game, like I said, at halftime. And you look at the adjustments that were made, and Drexel just made better adjustments. I think specifically at the faceoff X, Coita was fantastic. By my count, Villanova, who dominated in the first half in terms of faceoff wins, only had 2 in the second half. So the adjustments they made as a part of that faceoff unit were really successful for the Dragons. So they were able to make the adjustment. The other thing was Blumenthal played very well in the second half. I mentioned at halftime about both goalies struggling. Blumenthal really stepped up his game. 13 saves, 10 goals against. That's just shy of 57% on the day. Testa came in the second half for Villanova. He wasn't much better. Only saved 2 of the 8 shots that hit the frame. So collectively 35% on the save percentage from Villanova isn't going to get the job done. So I think I like the adjustments that Drexel made better than the ones that Villanova did for sure.
Chris, I have to ask you, did we learn more about Villanova this weekend, or did we learn more about Drexel?
I think we learned more about Drexel. Villanova, is a team, like I said, that's been sort of up and down. I think this Drexel squad, I've been saying it leading up into this weekend, is better than their record. I think this is a team that should be getting votes this week in the poll, and I think they've got some really talented players, and I think they have sort of some sneaky depth. If they're able to continue to play at the level they're playing at at the faceoff X and in the cage, I think that they have an opportunity to make a little bit of a run this season. So I think Drexel's a little bit of a sleeper squad in the conference this year.
Yeah, I mean, looking ahead now to the game after this, they're coming up a little bit less than half an hour. We got St. Joseph's and Penn. What do you see in this game? Do you think that St. Joseph's can make this a game with Penn, who looked really good on Friday?
I do. I think when you look at St. Joe's and what they've been doing this season, they've been playing pretty well, and they've got a couple of skill positions that I think are pretty strong. You look at Cole at face-off X; he's been good this season, and then Adler in the cage. If both of those guys can get hot, then they have an opportunity to stay in this game. I think you look on the other side at Penn, and they had a really strong showing against Villanova. I mean, I said before the game that I liked them in a close victory, and I think you look at Reed Junkin specifically in the cage for the Quakers having his best game of the season. Not in terms of total saves. He's had games where he's had more saves, but in terms of percentage, this is the first time he's gotten to 50% in terms of the save percentage. So that's a huge step up for them. And then the freshman Sam Hanley coming out with 7 points also was nice because they've been struggling to get the ball in the back of the net. So I mean, I think Penn is trending in the right direction. And I think it's going to be tough for St. Joe's, but if they're able to control the possession at the skill positions, they've got a shot.
Hey, Chris, I know you're watching these two games really closely today, but on the bigger scale, we've got that game going down, number 1 and number 2 down in Charlotte, with Cornell doubling up Towson at the half. I mean, is there just something about being number 1 this year, you think, in the landscape of college lacrosse that's making these teams get a little nervous, or is that just the parity of it all?
Well, I mean, I think there's some added pressure, not only from the team that is at number 1, but everybody wants to beat number 1. I mean, you've heard it from just about every coach who's ever been in that spot. Teams bring their A game when they're playing against the number 1 team in the land. And this Cornell team, they're very, very good. Jeff Tietz is good as anybody else in the country. We saw Peterson go out there and have 8 goals in the first half. I mean, he's shooting the lights out. So it's a really good team, and I think maybe the nerves getting to Towson a little bit. And, 2 games in 3 days, your legs are a little heavy. So it's I don't want to say I'm surprised per se because Cornell, coming in a top 5 team, but it certainly is a larger deficit than I would have been expecting at the break.
Yeah. Chris, every weekend I feel like there's upsets, and then it all comes down to Monday, the Inside Lacrosse polling. I know you vote on it. Do you have an idea of possibly where you're voting, or are you still kind of confused?
I mean, I'm gonna have to take a look at the scores. I mean, there's a real logjam up at the top right now. So, it's going to come down to who you like the best. I think there's a couple of teams that you look at that have an opportunity to make their way to the number 1 spot. But I think the parity is great for the sport, and it's been getting better and better every year. So there's new teams that are making headway in this sport. So I'm excited to see the parity because it's not as much fun when teams never lose games. So this is certainly making things more exciting.
That's so true.
Yeah,
this is fun. It makes it so exciting.
Cool. Thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate the time.
Anytime.
All right, so we got St. Joseph's and Penn coming up in a little less than half an hour right here on Lac Sports Network, so right around 2:30 or so. I'm not sure what time it is right now, so we'll figure that out in a little bit. But we know
25 minutes on the clock.
On the game clock, and there's 25 minutes to go. We're in our own vacuum here in the LSN studios. There is no time, and it's daylight savings time. The whole thing has just got everybody off. Anyway, that's coming up at 2:30 on Lac Sports Network, and of course, after that, Lacrosse Now, 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Right, and then of course we'll be back for halftime too to talk about the breakdown, St. Joseph's, and hopefully it's a good game. You can, if it's like anything like the first game, this could be a game of runs, a game of different quarters. You never know who come out on top.
But in the meantime, to get you to that next game, before that, we're going to actually show you an encore presentation of our USILA Weekly Show, hosted by Travis and myself earlier this week right here on LSN.